Muted.
Muted, sir.
That's how we start out the Monday, man.
Still muted.
Oh,
Still
man.
Muted.
Everybody's like,
muted.
Yeah, but
There you go.
okay, here we go. It's this is not turning out to be. Is this supposed to be the Avengers? And I think we feel like the Justice League here.
We had DC Justice League,
this
bro.
is Square Avengers.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
First of all, I want to welcome
don't do us like
everybody.
that.
There was a slight hiccup with, of course, the introduction. I was frozen on my end. First of all, can anyone in the chat let me know if we are in fact live?
We are indeed.
I think we are live. And this show with this panel needs no introduction.
Nope, not at all.
No, it absolutely doesn't. Okay, so here's the thing, folks. This panel is stacked. If you are new to Double Barrel Gaming, I want to say welcome. You might be fans of Neo GameSpark. You might be fans of Lord King David. You might be fans of people that are already a part of this show. If you are new, of course, I want to say welcome once again. Please consider subscribing. We have an incredible show for you. Not only are we going to be talking about the Marvel Xbox conundrum that is currently going on, but we're going to be privy to a brand new original topic written by the middle-aged game guy. I'm looking forward to that, but let's get into the introductions first, and we're going to start with our two guests. One of our guests that was here, he's been having some issues. We're going to bring him back in. That's Drawn TJ. We're going to bring him in back next week. He's been having some issues with his computer. I can't get him in. That's why I was freezing. But we will get Tim back here next week, and he'll be making his debut appearance on Primetime Gaming. Tim, sorry that for the computer issues that you're having, but like I said, brother, we're going to get you back next week, so don't even sweat it. We're going to start first with Neo GameSpark. Neo obviously is someone that I've watched for quite some time. I first got a glimpse of his incredible talent on the Iron Lords podcast. Turns out that we live in the same neighborhood. How do you like them apples? Small world after all. Neo GameSpark, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's about time you had me on here, Boomstick. I hear you across the street doing this podcast, and I'm like, yo, what's going on with that? I mean, you can get King on here, but not me. I see how it is. But yo, small world indeed. And like I said, we've got a stacked show today. We've got an all-star panel, so I'm gonna keep my intro short, sweet, and to the point. Thank you for having me on, Mr. Boomstick. Next guest. There we go.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, B. And of course, I don't think he needs an introduction, but this is the first time that he's on Primetime Gaming. He's been a guest on many of my programs, not this one. King David, I'm assuming that you're going to continue the laugh riot that was this Sunday's ILP. Welcome to Primetime Gaming.
I'm so happy to be here. Yo, Boom, I was going nuts trying to figure out how the hell can I get back on Boom? Like, because Breakfast with Boom wasn't happening because of the new company and stuff like that. And I was trying to figure out times. And I said, wait a second, he does like a gazillion shows. I got to find my way to get on one of them. So I said, I hit you up, like we was talking in the background. And I said, definitely prime time with Boom. Usually I'm asleep at this time, but I'm going to be up for my brothers. Like Neo said, we all in the same area. Me and Neo even go to the same gym, which is absolutely
insane, man.
It's really crazy. Boom is in the same area. And, you know, I just finished hanging out with my man Everborn at the movies. And that was a great thing. So let's get it started. I can't wait to hear everybody's opinion on these topics. It's going to be nuts.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait to get into it. Of course, next up, Kay Asante. We have been on the same mindset, if you will, when it comes to does Xbox need Marvel and does Marvel need Xbox? And we both think yes. Welcome to the program. I can't wait to hear your hot take.
What's going on, everybody? Yeah, I'll keep it short as well. We are among kings and the king. So welcome, everybody. It's great to be here, to be among all you guys. Neo, you know, you the man. I've always dug your stuff. And of course, we're all here with all the flame and all the great panelists ready to I think it's going to be quite interesting today. So I'll just keep it moving. So yes, it's going to be interesting tonight.
Look, like I said, everyone's going to have a raw take on it. But I think what I'm very excited about is to get everyone's honest take. And that's what you're going to get on this program. You're always going to get honesty. You're going to get passion. We don't curse. We try to keep it PG-13 because I do have a lot of kids that listen to it. Occasionally, Boom drops one, but I've been more, keeping it in the back of my mind simply because we want to entertain you with knowledge of gaming and not trying to sell you on console war or shaming or whatever else that goes on in the negative aspect of that world which we don't live in. I want to talk about a positive person. This is someone that has come on the scene. His channel recently hit 1,000 subs. By all means, he should have 10,000 subs because of his incredible talent. Wandering Dutch, my brother, welcome back.
Man.
Yeah. Good
Yes.
evening, all. Good evening. What a outstanding panel this evening. Awesome to be on with King again. Neo GameSpark, first time I've been on a panel with you. Absolutely
Likewise,
awesome to see you, brother.
brother.
It looks
Thank
like
you.
a character creation screen here with all the different beards going on. Awesome stuff. Let's get it going. I'm looking forward to
Usually
this
in
one.
that character creation screen, I choose the Vikings. So here we go.
I know, right?
There you go. And
I
last,
guess it's not a character creation scene in the Ascent, but that's neither here nor there.
Ouch.
Jeez.
man, that's rough. That's rough. Well, listen, we'll get to that. Next up, someone that is written and will be producing his own topic later on, which I think is very telling. Mag, middle-aged game guy, welcome back, brother.
Oh man, I am excited to be here tonight. When I found out that these two gentlemen were going to be joining us, I practically couldn't even sleep last night. Because let me tell you something: we got Neil on the show, and then we've got King on the show. You know how many Sundays I'm taking a shower and my wife is like, "Who the hell are you talking to?" And I'm in the shower and I'm yelling at King because I got the cell phone playing, and I'm going, "Tell him, King, tell him how it is." And I'm like, "Stop timing him out. Let him talk." You know. And so yeah. Anyways, I'm super excited to be here, guys. We got some great topics tonight. We're gonna have a lot of fun, a lot of great takes, and a lot of maybe unpopular ones. But anyways, let's get right into the show.
Look, I'm going to jump right into it. After Thursday's announcement of Spider-Man 2 and the shocking Wolverine exclusive, as a huge fan of Marvel proper, I honestly have completely had enough with Microsoft kind of putting their heads in the sand. Sorry, listen, folks.
Talk it.
I'm going to say
I'm
this right
hearing you.
now, straight up. I have 2 Xbox shows per week, right? No one has been a bigger rah-rah dude for Xbox than me, right? What they've done in the past 18 to 24 months, godly, right? Cannot discount what Phil and that team at Redmond have done for the brand. Game Pass is literally the second coming in gaming, right? We were all happy with it. It's had some incredible experiences this year. They've had some big AAA games get in there. We've been very blessed with the amount of new IPs through the indie scene that we keep getting in there. And listen, I have to be honest with you folks, like straight up, the Marvel conundrum, I cannot wrap my head around this. And you know what I want to talk about and what I want it to be understood is when you're talking about Spider-Man and you're talking about Wolverine, both games are likely to release 2023 and 2024 without any delays. That's just my take on it. But what's interesting isn't even just the games, folks. It has to be with the conversation that is going on with the community. Folks, did you know that a God of War was announced? Because you know what? Most people don't even care. No one's talking about Kratos. Everyone's talking about the rated M for mature Wolverine, which, by the way...
I'm sorry, Boom, just 1 second, right?
Yes, sir.
Kay Asante, did I not call you at 7 o'clock this morning saying the same thing?
Same conversation.
That nobody was talking about this. Also, shout out to the Westchester crew, right? All the New York guys. But same thing, Boom. And we didn't speak today, but literally the same thing. Everyone is talking about is the superhero thing. Sorry, it was hilarious. I had to point that out. But
that's a fantastic point. And I have in my notes, that's the damn point. You see, I'm going to bring up something that Phil Spencer said a couple of years ago that he was laughed upon on the socials. He came out and said that Xbox wants to get to the 3 billion gamers in the world. Billion with a B, right? And everyone laughed at him. They pointed at Phil. He knew what he was doing. But I'm going to tell you this right now. As hyped as F that I am for Fable, Avowed, the next Indiana Jones, whatever, the casuals, the normies don't give a flying you know what. You know what they want? They want Marvel. And I'll tell you this right now. Right now, folks, big surprise. Marvel is the hottest IP in film, in TV, and thanks to Insomniac Games, gaming, right? And if anyone argues that, you please come to me and tell me what's a hotter IP. Because I'll tell you something. The interwebs, they're still talking about Wolverine. They're still talking about Venom. They're still talking about Miles Morales being in the game with Spider-Man and that you can choose. Here, I got some quotes. I got some quotes for you right here. And the first one comes to us from Jez Corden, friend of this program, Windows Central. And this is what he had to say. Now, it's about KOTOR, but bear with me for a second. So he says this in a tweet. That KOTOR shit is wild, but offers a glimpse into Sony's recognition of established IPs for PlayStation alongside Wolverine and Spider-Man, etc. IP is God. Xbox has a way to go to create impressions that it can deliver high-quality narrative games consistently. I think they'll get there. End quote. Here is another one, folks. This is from no friend of this show because I'm too small for him to know, but I've been a friend of his for years. Emergency Awesome on YouTube.
I love his stuff.
Right? 4.2 million subs on his YouTube channel. Charlie had this to say. Here is another shut up and take my money situation with the Sony PS5. Right? That guy has 4.2 million followers, and he says that. What do you think? Do you think that every sub he has is some diehard knucklehead like me? No. The normies who watch YouTube, go check that out. And here's another one. Another channel that you should be checking out that I watch every day religiously. Showrunner Josh of Den of Nerds. Right? This is what he had to say. He has for the video when the KOTOR was announced along with Wolverine and Spider-Man 2 in all caps, KOTOR remake reaction and breakdown in all caps, I'm getting a PS5. By the way, Josh is a diehard Xbox dude, straight up diehard Halo head. And he's like, yeah, well, after I got to get myself a PlayStation 5. Do you know how many of my normal friends that don't know nothing about nothing came to me and was like, boom, did I hear Wolverine game is coming out for PlayStation 5? Oh, I got to get
Did you give him a date? I mean, like if the world doesn't end in the next 5 years, you're good. Like,
no. I mean, again, the world can end tomorrow with the way the world is. So man, as humans are just idiots. But look, I said my piece. I put my heart out there, folks. My problem isn't with Microsoft. My problem is that they sometimes, as great as they can be, do not read the tea leaves the way they should. And I'm sorry to say, getting a Marvel exclusive. Look, let me just say this, just for shits and giggles, folks. Mm-hmm. If tomorrow Matt Booty came out and said, folks, listen, we heard you. We've heard the complaints. I'm proud to announce that in 2024, 2025, pick a date, the Coalition will be bringing you a game about the Punisher. People would lose their minds, and that's all anyone would talk about, because the Punisher is a hero that deserves AAA status quo. And who could do an Unreal Engine third-person violent game like the Coalition? Well, if I was in charge, I would be taking up a poll in my stable of 23 studios. Who wants to work on a Marvel IP and pull a Sony? What character do you want to work on? Because if you didn't know, Spider-Man was Insomniac's choice. not Sony proper. They asked them, what do you want to work on? We want to work on Spider-Man, and we got Spider-Man 2018, Game of the Year, right? Listen, I'm going to step back. I'm going to let the mic get open.
Can I? I'm going to tee this up to King, but can I just start on this? Okay, so King, you from the islands. I'm going to say something real quick. You know the term when your parents used to say you too red eye?
Yes, sir.
When
Can
you
be
see
envious, boy.
Yes. When you see what the neighbor got, then you want to have that, right? All I am saying is I would not be mad if Xbox had a superhero title. However, how much of this is of the moment, right? Because what it would require for Xbox right now today, and by the way, Wolverine is coming out in 2026, right?
Yeah, right. Give it to him.
Right? Yeah, it's going to be a couple years.
It'll be cross generation. I think somebody said that.
It'll be cross generation
PS5 and PS6.
Right?
We shall see.
So that's the thing. There is nothing to say that Xbox will not have some kind of a superhero deal. But I think at the heart of the matter right now is that people saw how excited the Sony guys got, and they're like, I want to have that feeling too. My only point is that you already have that feeling. We just spent the last year talking about Starfield. We spent the last, I don't know how much time saying, guess what? You're not getting Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5 anywhere but on an Xbox. Those are all of those are huge titles, and Microsoft's problem right now, what landed them where they are today, is that they had not spent enough time focusing on their own IPs, right? A license deal, there's a lot of uncertainty when you do a licensing deal, right? So what they want to do is build out their stable and have their studios focus on things that they own so that they can guarantee that you will get a sequel and things like that. The 360 generation was so great. However, you didn't get a lot of sequels, even in the beginning of the Xbox One generation. You didn't get sequels because they were relying on either licensing or third-party or second-party deals. And they don't want to do that right now. So we got to let the teams focus on the things they want, which will be IPs that they own, and build out that first before we get to just going tit for tat with the competition. I have more to say, but I just wanted to tee it up with that.
Okay, so being that you teed it up for me, I'm going to give you the business angle, guys. All right, the business angle, Microsoft has 32 studios. Yeah. We know that it takes a certain amount of time for games to be produced, made, and everything. Everborn hit the nail on the head when he explained that, a lot of you guys are going for the moment. The only reason why everybody's talking Wolverine is because it was the only surprise at a day's show.
Yes.
Everything else wasn't a surprise. Everything that you saw there was like, yeah. First of all, you was dying for the first 45 minutes because you was like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, the first half of the show was
utter boo-boo.
Exactly.
It was utter boo-boo, right? And I was running wild on ILP with that show because I told you guys at the end of the show, I'm still going to be standing. And I said the only thing that could save the show before the show even started, the only thing that could save the show for me was God of War. And they showed it, and you guys are pissed off talking about boat animations and other stuff like that. You're getting on my nerves with that, all right? First of all, God of War looked just like how I said it would, DLC. But I want it, okay?
Expand alone.
Right, and this is a game that we will get in probably 2022, probably. Yeah. God of I don't think 23.
I'm figuring March 2023.
Okay.
I don't think it hits holiday next year. I just
Why was there no date on that? Like not even
that's the question.
There's a reason.
Yeah, well, I think they're figuring out spacing. Excuse me. Now, Sony is at a different place. Remember, when Sony was battling the big two, which was Sega and Nintendo, they learned very early on to build your stable of your own IPs. Right, so they have their own fallback stuff that they can fall back on that is guaranteed money makers. Microsoft had the fries, burgers, and shake, like Lord Cognito likes to say, Halo, Gears, and Forza, And they ran that to the ground to where the Microsoft, the contingent is like, yo, come on, give us something different. They went and got these studios. So these studios is going to give you something different. Listen, they're at two different lanes. And like Everborn said, you can't be red-eye at this moment, envious of what's going on with the other people. They have built themselves in this manner to do these things the way that they are doing it. Microsoft has the best service, the best internet, the best customer service, and the best hardware, right? So they have to work with what they can do at the moment. You guys are in the moment wanting and envious of, why can't they just get one, King? All right, so if they go out and get that one title that everybody is dying for, Daredevil or something of that nature, it's going to come out 8 years from now because everybody else is working on projects. So why announce something right now that's not coming? They already learned their lesson with announcing things so far out that people lose interest in your platform. Sony can do that. Sony's selling hope right now. So you got a couple of titles that's hitting, and then you got hope for the future. They built themselves in that position. Yeah, so
that is their bread. Remember the E3 of Dreams? That's all that was. Yeah, indeed.
I mean, I'm just giving it to everybody else, but we gotta step back for a little bit from our emotions and know that Microsoft will get there, but they're not there yet. They're still trying to get back the people they lost to the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, and one other point to point out about this, like this is a very kind of unique deal, and the reason I say that, like Sony, the way they were able to lock down the Spider-Man character to the PlayStation platform is related to the deal that they have in the movies, and
there's no doubt about that, 100%.
Right? Yeah. And so they were able to leverage that. Now, the Spider-Man 2018 and Miles Morales were an unparalleled success in terms of sales, sort of mind share, and critical reception, meaning the reviews and all those things. All of those things, and all of those things, Disney and Marvel will look at and say, "Hey, let's do this again." And it is the same studio, so of course a lot of people pitch Marvel games all the time, but if Insomniac pitches a game after their performance on the Spider-Man IP, of course that is a natural thing to happen. That's why that deal happened, and it was a surprise for all of us. But when you really sit back and think about it, should it have been a surprise? It makes perfect sense. It's not just Sony; it's the same studio and everything.
I got news for you. I'll say this. Now, I like to be a detective when it comes to these things because I know that Insomniac loves to put, innuendos and suggestions in their trailers. Now, I talked about the Princess Bar. There's a good chance that this entire game or a good portion of it is in Madripoor. If you're a big X-Men fan, you'll know what I'm talking about. But there was something else that was on there that I think is almost guaranteed, and that was HLK 181. That is when Wolverine straight up fought to a draw because they were told to stop fighting. I am telling you right now, everyone that's I got to get to the super chats because thanks to Asante, he's keeping it for me and able to catch up. I am telling you right now, I don't care where you are on the planet. You could be in the jungles of Brazil with no phone service and snakes ready to kill you. You're going to know if Hulk is going to be in that game and you're going to be fighting the Hulk in one way or another because the interwebs are going to explode. And I don't think that reference would be there if that wasn't in fact the case. Listen, I get it. I understand Microsoft is the $2 trillion company that could. Phil Spencer by himself with that team really have turned the ship around. I take no credit away from them, but my God, you gotta throw a punch. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But wait, hold on. Boom. Was buying Bethesda not a haymaker? Is Starfield?
But again, taking nothing away from what they have done. They have done incredible things. But like I said, when you have a statement and an ideology that you want to reach X amount of gamers, as great as the Elder Scrolls is and Fallout and all the other IPs that are going to come with it, the average Joe, the casual, the normie that won Sony the last generation with their 112 million consoles, 85 plus million of consoles were the normal people that buy 2 games.
I'm gonna fight you back on that. And I really do. I really want to be quiet, and I really want to hear Neo's take, and I want to hear Kesante, and I want to hear Dutch's take, and I want to hear everybody's take. I just want to fight you back on this.
Yeah, please, by all means.
Just by saying this, they can't get past that 150 million sold, even with those IPs, right? That's not what Phil means by like when he wants to reach those 3 billion. The only way they're going to reach those 3 billion is by that Game Pass app being everywhere. It has nothing to do with IPs. And I really feel that we're living in a wrong age mentally when it comes to thinking that certain IPs are going to move the needle here or there. It moves it for us. But the norms, and when I'm a norm, let me explain me being a norm. When I pick up my phone and I'm standing in line waiting and I'm bored as hell and I'm playing Gym Wars, Gym Wars has nothing to do with Spider-Man, God of War, or whatever the hell. But I'm pretty sure that Gym Wars has sold more than God of War, Spider-Man, and anything else combined. And I'm pretty sure that lady standing next to me is probably playing Gym Wars too. If she looks over and says, "Oh, that's in the game store," hold on. So again, the reach is not what we think it is. And sales numbers is not the metrics anymore. It's engagement.
1 minute, King, though, when we talk about sales numbers.
Right.
More people have played Skyrim than have played Insomniac Spider-Man game.
Yeah, we know that, but it's been around forever.
and it's been on more platforms too. It's been on more platforms too. So
let's get Neo's opinion on this, and then we'll go to Kesante and then Wandering Dutch, and we'll get Middle Age Gamer Guy. Neo Games Pro, where do you fall on the necessity of a Marvel exclusive IP?
Okay, so I think that all three of y'all so far have made some really good points. And I think that this situation is not as... So it's easy to get caught up in emotions, like Everborn was saying, how y'all say this now in the moment because you want it. That is true. I'm not going to take that away from the people that genuinely do want it, because the one thing that Xbox has gotten flack for the better part of a decade is it's not doing enough to appeal to everybody. Like if you look at the amount of people that bought the Xbox One versus the Xbox 360, that's a pretty big disconnect. And there are reasons why. Obviously, the DRM in the beginning, that was a big factor, but a lot of games that were on the 360 moved away from the 360. Franchises that started on the 360 blossomed on the PlayStation with the PS4. So obviously Microsoft has a lot of work to do to bring back those type of consumers. And Boom is right when he says you have to have broad appeal in order to grow the install base, because there are people out there who legitimately buy a PlayStation console to play Final Fantasy once every couple of years. There's people who buy a PlayStation console to play FIFA, and that's the only game they play. And now, as we see, they bought a PlayStation console to play Spider-Man. That is extremely important to have that broad appeal. So do I think that Xbox needs to cut a deal with Marvel or to cut another deal with Lucasfilms to get a Star Wars game? I don't think they need to do it, but I think it'd be beneficial. But to King's point, talking about the whole 3 billion and Phil Spencer wanting to reach that number, I don't think that 3 billion can be conflated with, oh, Xbox needs to get a Star Wars game so they can reach that number. That there's no way that's going to happen. And Sean Layden actually, Sean Layden, for those who don't know, he was the former president of PlayStation. He said gaming has not been growing in the console space. It's been growing more on mobile. So a lot of people, they took that statement and they were just like, well, what's he talking about? Call of Duty is selling so much every year. That's not what he's talking about. The people that buy Call of Duty are always going to buy Call of Duty. He's talking about bringing new people into the mix. So I don't think this issue is as black and white as a lot of people are saying, like, okay, Xbox needs to do this. I think what they have to focus on, coming out with quality banger after banger after banger after banger. That is what they need right now. I would love for them to do a Marvel deal. I would love for them to do a Star Wars deal. But as we saw, like this past Xbox generation, the gap widened. It didn't shrink. And that is extremely important. So do they deserve flack for not going out there and procuring those deals? Absolutely. Giving people incentive to buy a console? Absolutely. But I think those deals will come in time, and who's to say those deals aren't already being made? Let's take Indiana Jones, for example. Yes, it was inked with Bethesda before the acquisition. We all know that. But still, those type of deals are done behind the scenes.
Pirates, right? Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean for Sea of Thieves. So they're already working with Disney to some extent. And these deals, they don't just happen like, hey, King, I'm going to phone you up. Let's work on the Punisher game or something.
Yeah, right.
You know, it doesn't happen like that. That Sea of Thieves deal, I think they said it was inked at E3 2019.
Yes.
When did we see that?
One of the first deals they ever did was if you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, you get Disney Plus for 30 days for free. That was one of the first.
One of the first ones, yes.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. That relationship is definitely there.
I mean, listen. I will say this: if you've looked at what Marvel has specifically done, and Dutch may be able to talk about this, the collaboration on special edition consoles that they've done as giveaways. Like, do you remember the Black Panther one?
Yes,
The Shang-Chi one was amazing. The Black Panther one was amazing. They had, so there is a working relationship within gaming and Marvel. So that's why I said, that's why it's a bit of a head scratcher. Listen, Keisante, let me bring Wandering Dutch in here because he's the modder of consoles. Dutch, you've seen some of the stuff, some of the work that Marvel has done with Microsoft specifically to push their brand, right? To let people say, hey, Shang-Chi, go check it out. Here's a special edition console. One person is going to be the luckiest person in the world. And they've done that with numerous other films. If that relationship is there, why isn't it a priority for either of them to make an exclusive for Xbox to reach an additional audience that seem to really gravitate towards Sony because of these exclusives?
I think there's a couple of things that you can look at here, and I think it's also the approach that Microsoft have on their studios. I think Sony's approach is the fact that they look at IPs and then they assign an IP to a studio and essentially give them something to work on, whereas Microsoft are completely hands-off and just say, work on what you want to work on. Now, if they also have potentially a tie-in that they can involve, i.e. Top Gun with Flight Sim, that absolutely makes sense. Sea of Thieves or Pirates of the Caribbean absolutely makes sense. If it's something that works with a current IP, then 100% that makes sense. If it's forcing an IP on the studio to make it in the first place, that's a whole nother ball game. I think Microsoft's more hands-off approach is potentially why you don't see these particular intentional IP jump-ons. I think the Indiana Jones thing itself, if you have a look at the age range, let's say, that these two companies are going for, it is very varied. Spider-Man IP is very much not focused on the adult, should we say the older adult age range. If you're looking at the Indiana Jones IP, the young kids are not going to understand what that is.
Well, I mean, if the game hits properly, they could make it. Like if
it could make a name of itself.
I can imagine seeing them going, "Oh, what is this? What is this Uncharted clone? What is this Tomb Raider
Please,
clone?"
whatever you do, I hope they don't put them in Fortnite, because if I see Indiana Jones,
that's how you know you made it, though.
Bro,
you know you made it when you were in Fortnite.
We got Naruto coming to Fortnite, bro. It's happening.
But yeah, I think it's personally down to how both of those companies do business. Sony are very much a hands. We've seen that with what the guys for Days Gone wanted. Days Gone wanted to make Days Gone 2.
Yes.
But Sony said, hell no, you're making something else. Yeah. It's a different approach entirely. Like these two companies, one's very much hands-on with what the studios do and how and what they produce. Microsoft have taken the opposite approach and essentially just saying, listen, you just create what you want to create. If there's something that you want to do, then we'll try and work it out. For instance, like Indiana Jones, no doubt Bethesda went to Disney and said, listen, we want to make this IP. Like, this is an IP we really want to make. And that's what made it happen. I don't think Microsoft intentionally get involved. I think if a studio wants to do something like that, then Microsoft will go out, no doubt will go out and do it, because they will. They have the capabilities, they have the relationships. They would go out and do that. Consoles are far, far easier to make something like that happen, especially when it's a one-off limited edition no one else gets in the world. Apart from some competition winner. Yeah, that's such a simple thing to do. On the point as well, with regards markets in Europe and in the UK, even though the Marvel Spider-Man IP sold well, the demographic of who that sold to does not translate well over here either. In Europe, Marvel, specifically in Europe, Marvel's not like massive. Like superheroes in the Netherlands, for instance, no one really cares that much. In the UK, it's exactly the same. Like, even though people watch Marvel quite a lot of the time, massive Marvel film fans. When I speak to the casuals who play on PlayStation or have bought a PlayStation, none of them want to play Spider-Man. Like, they couldn't care less. Like, they just want a Call of Duty, they want a FIFA. A lot of them want Fallout. They love Fallout. They want these games that they've known to come and love over time. These easy pick up and play games. And when it comes to things like Spider-Man or even on Ratchet and Clank or Psychonauts or anything like that, the vast majority of casuals, that's not for them. 100% not for them. They couldn't care. It's the exact quotations. Nah, it's too kiddie. If they buy Spider-Man, it's I've bought Spider-Man for the kid. Yeah. Or my kids got Spider-Man. It's not for them. They never play it. So for the demographic it's sold to, especially in the UK and Europe, that's the vast majority is a certain age range, and that's the younger generation. It's not the older generation, especially in the UK and Europe. They, as much as they love Marvel films, game-wise, they don't play them. It's just how it is.
I mean, listen, you know the demographic there for sure, and obviously, we know Spider-Man worldwide has sold over 20 million copies. Now, when again, some people would argue that is that really a lot when you consider there's 112 million consoles. Yeah. So I mean, that's for
another thing. I also want to come in there, Boom, as well, is if you've got to think the Spider-Man IP only available on a specific console has sold 20 million. One console. Considering that is the only platform and you can play Spider-Man on, literally the only platform out of PC, Nintendo, Xbox, and mobile. The only one with an actual Marvel dedicated IPs only shifting 20 million units. It's the only place in the world you can play that Spider-Man game, and it's shifting 20 million units out of, as mentioned previously, 3 billion gamers. That's a nothing number.
Nothing.
It's a massive IP, but it doesn't hit the needle.
And Wolverine will sell half of that, if it's lucky, because he is not as popular as everyone thinks.
And he's not as popular with the kids.
He was more popular during the Hugh Jackman days, but those days are gone now.
But you know what?
When he shows up, who will be there?
Marvel movies don't translate to comic book sales. See, with that mentality that man, they're killing it if they're doing this, and then the Marvel movies is ruling out here. It doesn't translate to comic book sales because the comic book market is in dire straits at this moment right now. So
speaking of Marvel issues, and tying in nicely with God of War. Why have this Marvel generation got into their heads that Thor is some muscle bound Australian
Thor is Fabio,
Australian supermodel.
But to be fair on the topic, I mean, we can't diss 20 million sales. Most games don't even sell 5 million, if that. And that's the thing. That here's the thing though, because I know some people are saying it happened when Spider-Man PS4 got announced in 2016. People were saying it's just another Spider-Man game. Why is Insomniac working on this? They're wasting their time. 20 million units cannot be understated, and that is huge.
True.
Miles Morales
100%.
sold 7 million. Most of the console exclusives, most of the console exclusives don't even come close to that on both PlayStation and Xbox, and very few games come to selling 20 million units.
And any game publisher would beg and pray and be glad and thank the gods to sell 20 million on a single game.
But here's the thing, because I know some people are throwing around install base size, how it only sold 20 million on 150 million unit console. You could throw that logic to anybody's favorite game on the Xbox 360. Why did this game only sell this amount when there's this install base? So I mean, I know some people are trying to use it as a slight, but you kind of can't.
When I say that, you know what I'm talking as? I'm talking as the boardroom, right? If I'm sitting in the boardroom and you tell me that my reach is 125 million, how come I'm not touching everybody?
But you know what? But that's the thing. They still made the money though, and that's all that matters.
Right? No, but my thing is this: we have to figure out how can we touch each and every owner of our console. That's the conundrum. It's and an IP is not going to do that, and one IP will not touch everyone. But we have to figure out how we're going to break down these walls to get to them, and that's where it's at.
To be fair, King, though, should every IP have to appeal to everybody? Because I'm just gonna be honest, I don't care much about State of Decay. I know a lot of people love State of Decay. Right. They love that game. I respect their love for it. But if that franchise only sold lifetime, let's say 5 million units,
that's a win for them.
It's a win for them, and that's perfectly fine. So I don't think that people should really be using install sizes as a reason why. The only company that gets close to that one-to-one install size is Nintendo.
But that only happened once with Zelda. That happened.
No, Mario Kart 8, bro. That it's up close, man.
Animal Crossing is closing in on 40 million units sold.
Exactly, and that's the rarity there.
So the one thing I've got for Insomniac as well is, first of all, after Sunset Overdrive, they were most definitely the perfect, in terms of traversal and how you bounce around the environment, etc. The perfect studio for that.
Yes.
But now seeing them do another superhero IP, I'm now more concerned that Insomniac is going to be labelled or essentially cast upon.
I haven't
doing superhero IPs forever.
You know,
and I don't want that of the studio. It seems like
Sunset Overdrive was a resume for, hey, let us make Spider-Man. So
pretty much.
It looked like it was, hey, give us an IP. We want to make a superhero game. Look at what we can do.
Yes,
that's what Sunset Overdrive looks like.
But to be fair, Insomniac, they do, Dutch, to your point, they have other projects in development. They're gearing up for a multiplayer project. And the thing about Insomniac, unlike a lot of the Sony studios, is they always go back to their franchises. No one knew they were doing Ratchet and Clank until we saw it last year and everyone went ballistic.
Resistance is also something that I think they're rumored to be working on.
The question is, are they going to trust any other Marvel character other than Insomniac Studios? That's my question.
Bro,
they've been trusted. Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right.
You know what? Kay Asante, I want to bring you into the conversation, and then we're going to, of course, bring in Cybernox and our good brother Tempest Son, who nearly ran over half the neighborhood to get here. Tempest, thanks for being here.
That's how you do it, man.
It would have been World War III. There's no doubt about it. But thanks for being here, brother. Listen, Kay Asante, when we talk about Microsoft, right? And we talk about Sony proper. Sony has Spider-Man and Wolverine exclusives and timed exclusives like KOTOR because they want to sell boxes. Indeed, Sony is very traditional.
They're in the business of,
right. Microsoft, we understand, is that because you are going to have the ability to use any box, any phone, any pewter, any tablet, and hopefully by this fall, TVs. You're going to be able to link up and play, whether it be 1080p 60 or 4K bells and whistles, you name it, in there on your box, right? Microsoft wants to sell Game Pass subs. That is the goal. It's not, I mean, they want to sell controllers because they have a gazillion of them, and I built most of them, right? Because that's what I do.
Yes,
but
indeed.
They want to sell subs. And as great as some of their IPs that they're bringing back are, Like I said, Perfect Dark. I'm an OG, so I played the original, beat it, loved it then. I'm going to beat the hell out of it when it comes out later or in a couple of years. Same thing for Fable. Same thing for new IPs like Avowed. And there's so much coming, right? Hellblade 2. The deck is stacked, and we're going to talk about that in the second half because Mag has written an incredible piece, which he, of course, is going to become the showrunner as soon as we're done with this topic. But with the subs in mind, as great as some of these games are, you're not going to grab the people without, you're going to grab us. You're going to grab the hardcore. To get the new people, if you turn around and say Marvel character X in Game Pass day one, $15 a month, you got something. Am I incorrect in suggesting that, Casante?
No, I'm not saying. I don't think you're incorrect in suggesting that. But as we've already, as has been well discussed by such brilliant panel members, there's more nuances to there, right? And honestly, I think there's no wrong answer on the panel right now because there's a lot of nuance here. So do they need to do it? In my humble opinion, hell no, they don't need to do it. Why? Because as King and the rest of them have very expertly pointed out, when they were talking about those billions of gamers they're trying to reach, it's about convenience, not about an IP that'll get you to go buy their box or get you to take the steps to join their ecosystem. It's about Netflix. It's about, I got nothing to watch. Let me watch Friends again for the billionth time because it's available. That's what Netflix did to get us to where we are today, right? It's not what will keep you there because then all of a sudden a Netflix original seems interesting. It's all of them. It's not just one, right? Do they need it? No, they don't, in my opinion, right? Do I think, does me as a gamer, as a guy who primarily games on Xbox, even though I have the opportunity to game everywhere, as a guy who primarily games there, would I want to see a Marvel game or any kind of superhero-focused game? I'm a Marvel zombie from way back. I watch every game, every movie. I've read countless comic books. I still read them now. I totally want that, 100%. But they don't need to do it from a business perspective. I was telling you guys this today. A quick story. Today, I was scrolling the internet between work hours or whatever, and I came across this weird video that caught I just went down a rabbit hole. I mean, the woman has to be 80 years old or something. 80, sweetest old lady reviewing consoles.
What?
Reviewing games.
Send me the link.
Everborn, you're on
He put. Didn't you put the link in the DM?
Was
I
this
put
the way? I
link in the
think
chat.
I follow an old lady who reviews JRPGs. Her name is Food for Dogs. Is that the same one?
That's the one.
That's
man.
her. She's awesome. She's
awesome.
I get it.
I fell into the trap, and I was like, "This woman is amazing."
She's awesome.
You know, and
I was
I'm
asking.
like,
I was asking Kay Sante what kind of porn was he watching.
Yeah, right. Like he said, I'm watching an old lady. I'm like, hey,
so,
oh my god.
So food for
G-I-L-L.
dogs, right? That's the one. Yes. So and I'm listening to, I'm like, okay, there's this lady who's from New Zealand and she's reviewing Xbox Series S. Let's hear what she's got to say, right? She doesn't like Halo. She doesn't like multiplayers. She doesn't like all the things that you and me would go, why the hell you want Xbox? She's not about it. But she's all about that Series S, and she bought that day one, and she's got, well, no, not day one, because she did, like Everborn says, she's not a first adopter. She waits 2-3 years before she buys her console. She's had all PS4s, whole bunch of Switches in her house, and now
Vitas.
she has a Series S. Why? Because Game Pass does it for her. And when she shows you the games that she thinks, oh my God, this is amazing, she only plays physical games. But for Series S, she bought that because Game Pass does it. And the games that she sees as her AAA games are nothing to any of us on this panel. But she's all about it, and she's in it day one. She's so happy, and it's not for her kids; it's for her and her family. And I'm like, we're all adults here. We've all been gaming all our lives. But when you see a woman that could be your mother sitting there with all the knowledge that you have about gaming and is just as passionate, just as exciting.
I can't wrap my head around this.
It's amazing.
I want her.
Yeah, I know. I want the link.
I want her on the
Bro,
show. I'm gonna reach out.
So
Just
to her.
to
what this
put in
did was-
perspective, put in perspective
Yes.
for y'all. She legit, like, she's a legit. Some people are saying her thoughts might be skewed, bro. She's playing stuff like Persona 5. She's gone
She's
through all the
awesome.
classics. She's a legit
Seriously.
hardcore gamer. For those who are
Yes.
questioning her, like,
And she's saying stuff like Series S has a 512 gig hard drive. Some people don't like that. I thought that was great because that keeps me it keeps me committed. I play my game, finish it so I can replace it with another game. Otherwise, I spend too much time with games on my hard drive. Like,
Yep.
she knows what she's talking about. And I bring this up because she's not going to be playing any Spider-Man. She's not going to be even if it was available day one. That's not what she would be doing. She'd be playing the cool little indies that you and me, King, were always
Like
into on that
Artful
Game Pass.
Escape that
Like the
I'm
Artful
stuck-
Escape.
Yeah, I'm
That's right,
sucked
which I
into right
love.
now.
Oh,
I started
That
I started
is
playing that on
amazing.
xCloud last night, like in bed.
Yes, that's right. And then you can move on to your PC when you're in the office, and then when you happen to be on the console, you can do that too.
I
It's
said
about
this before,
go ahead.
right? Just really quickly. I think
yeah.
Sony's going to be the first ones to get to reach their whole fan base, right?
Okay.
Because this deal with Netflix that I believe that's going to happen, and I've said it on Boom before, and I'm only going to keep saying it on Boom so you guys can hear me. I think Sony's going to ink this deal with Netflix, and to license their movie properties over, and Netflix is going to use Sony's the branch arm for gaming. But that PlayStation Now is not a dead service. They're going to extend that service in some form or fashion with Netflix and PlayStation Now, and to reach their base. Netflix is all over the world. And if you can link in through that, you can branch past your install base. So, and just to to explain to Neil what I was trying to get at with that Spider-Man. All right, so let's say those Netflix dudes have never played Spider-Man, and they look at the movie, and then you can click here, and you can play Spider-Man Now on PlayStation Now after you just got hyped for the movie. And you can
Now we got
click
the
this
game for
link
you
to
right
play
here.
this game.
Yep.
You play that game right now,
It's that Stadia thing that Stadia never could give you. You press the button and you're
play it,
playing it.
and you say, "Shoot, I want to own this," and you buy it.
Yep.
And I really think they reach past the install base, but that's just my thoughts. Sorry, and that's when
No.
become
No,
that
and
juggernaut.
You're absolutely right, 100%. But where you are also correct on is convenience trumps any kind of crazy IP you got.
Yes,
We love it. Dude, I bought my PS5 for a reason, right? I'm the one who's all about, hey, stop with these CGI trailers. But if Insomniac gives me a CGI trailer, I'm there day one because they have established themselves. You know what I mean? We are within ourselves.
well, you know what
I
you're going to
speak-
get from Insomniac, correct?
That's right. I spoke about that story because we are who we are. We are who we all are. They, the normals, aren't us, but they're also getting into it. And the things that we think are their barometer are completely not. The things that we go, oh, nobody will play this. That's all they're about. When you see some lists in people's lists says, hey, this is my game of the year, you're like, really? It just is what it is. We need to get out of our own bubble. Because outside of our bubble, when you happen to peruse a lady on YouTube who's like reviewing games, you'll realize that, hey, she's playing the same games I'm playing, but where I have Death's Door on my list, she's got like something else on her list, and that's just as good. And because of that, the reaching of the billions of gamers, it's about making it available to you and as easy and as quick whenever you need it as possible, whether it be the Friends or is the big movie, right? It's about convenience. Hey, you need a minute? Watch this, play this. Whether it's the thing you've always wanted to play or just the thing that you didn't know you wanted, but you got 5 minutes to between the dentist appointment. That's what they mean when they say billions of gamers, right? And it's getting there based on what I'm seeing. There's a bunch of Asian folks who weren't who weren't down with Xbox. Now all of a sudden, every other day there's new Xbox
on the social.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, my Google translates on point. I'm like deciphering what's going on there. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people joining in, and their opinions on matters aren't our opinions on matters. I say ours because we're the core gamers. They are not them. Right? And what they love is not what we love, but it should be okay. So to bring it all back around to this whole Marvel thing, does Quessy the gamer want this to happen? Hell yeah, I want it yesterday. But I don't have to worry about it because I have a PS5, so I'll play it there, right?
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Do they need to? And you know what? Honestly, how many studios do they have, King? I heard what you said. How many studios do they have?
Well, it's 23.
Do we know? Well, he's talking.
You said wait. You said 23.
I think he means the 23 studios, 32 teams.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought it was 35.
Every single one
Actually,
of them
it's
is doing.
36 teams. Sorry.
It's just going up. 37 now.
No, well, you know, boom.
He said, "Try me again. It'll be 40."
Do we?
Exactly.
The question is,
Boom,
do we know?
Oh, wait,
Do
Sony
we
can have
know what
secret teams
every
when
single
Microsoft
team
can?
is working? Do we know what every single team is doing? Every single one of them. No. So this could be a moot point, right? We've already established that they already have a direct relationship with Disney, right? They may not have that Insomniac relationship with Disney, but Insomniac is Insomniac. It is what it is, right? Disney threw their IPs at Square. Look how that turned out for them, right? I think if Obsidian wanted something, they could probably get it. Probably. Who knows? Yep. They may already have it as we speak. They're just not ready to talk about it.
I mean,
Go ahead.
Very quick point that we should all keep in mind here. I think if those are the kind of games you want to see exclusive to Xbox, I mean, for me, it's more a concern of if you want a superhero game to be available on your platform, you want that. That's fine. You deserve that. You spent $500 for it. Ask away. Right.
Yeah.
But if we want those deals to happen, sometimes Sony's able to make these exclusive deals because of their position in the market.
Of course.
And so Microsoft has to do the groundwork and build their install base,
which is
so that they can say, okay, boom, we support PC, we support cloud, we support console. When they can go to any IP holder and say, guess what? We have 150 million people that you can just count on that. You may not, it's easier to make a deal like that. So until they can, just one second, until they can build that out. And the way to do that is by focusing on their own IP, because that's just where they are in the market. If you can't, the only people you can control is yourself. So if they put out banger after banger of their own IP, they have that fan base there, they have that zeitgeist, then people start knocking on their doors and say, hey, can you turn my IP into something? So the first step, if we want that, is for them to focus on their projects and building out their stable of high quality AAA IPs.
I'll give you one quick thing and I'll give up the mic. You are the person with the money in your pocket, right? You have Square Enix show up to your door saying, we want your IP. You have Ubisoft showing up. We want your IP. You have, who else? EA showing up. We want your IP. And you have Insomniac showing up. It's 2021. You are Marvel. In a bubble. Who gets it? Duh. Because we've seen, we even take away all the they should, who should, they should. If you are the owner of said IP, you look around and see what has been done with it. The only person, the only studio that deserves any seat at any table right now is Insomniac, because the others have not done so well with their beloved IPs, right? Insomniac is the only one that has really brought it to fruition. So, to Everbone's point, and I think that's probably why you hear PlayStation running around, very, very, very jovial with it, because they are at that point. Microsoft needs to get to a point where when they walk into a room, they are respected and not looked at with a side eye of, can you deliver? And Insomniac is there now, right? We have a lot of evidence, and PlayStation as a whole has a lot of evidence to be able to do that, right? They walk in the door and they say, hey, we want this. Nobody looks at them sideways. Nobody looks at them with, you guys really think you can make that happen? Because they've already done so. Microsoft can do so, but it's all about the proof is in the pudding at this point. They do not have the same level of clout that PlayStation does. So for those of you who are out there going, oh, this is terrible, they need to do this or they'll fail, no, they'll be fine. Providing that their quality control, and someone else has already pointed this out in this panel. I think it was Neo who did that. Their quality control is priority. I don't care what IP it is, right? I don't care what IP it is, because me, devil's advocate, Spider-Man came out on PlayStation. We enjoyed ourselves, right? Based on all the evidence that we have today, if Spider-Man, exactly that Spider-Man, were to come out on Xbox, would it have been as quality of an experience? We don't know because their quality control tends to sometimes not be, you know.
Just say it, bro. Just say it. Just say it, man.
You know,
they let
it's more
Crackdown
within-
3 out the door. Just say it, bro.
It's more
I
within the
like
studio.
Crackdown 3. You're not gonna do
Seriously.
Hey, you
It
can
is
like
more
it. You
within-
can like it, but let's be
yo.
real about life for a second.
It
People
is
like
more
Days
within
Gone.
the studio
but-
than it.
that. If they
Yeah,
put that
Days Gone is
same
an outlier.
exact Spider-Man out on Xbox today, same exact.
Well, no.
Pixel
I'm saying
for
if
pixel,
Insomniac made it,
I'm
it would be
talking
perfect.
About,
It'd be
the
perfect.
same
Yes,
exact game.
Yes.
They will put it out right now, today. It will get review bombed to the floor.
Sure,
so let's
because
not
Xbox
act.
made it.
I mean, nothing
True.
wrong with it. Same exact
True.
game, same
True.
load time.
That's
same
a different
everything.
conversation.
Right.
I hear you.
So
That
let's-
sounds like
let's-
you.
That's
That
a
sounds like
different
you get into the
conversation.
fanboys more than people
Yes,
being
no,
like,
no,
"Come
listen,
on, bro."
Like I told you, that was my game of the year.
Yeah.
All I'm saying, what I mean
and
by
I'm gonna
that
get
is,
that game. Yeah.
what I mean by that is not Insomniac, but if you were to hand this high class IP to Microsoft, even though we all know they got a whole bunch of very, very, very experienced, like awesome studios, but they're at the starting line. Whereas Sony's been turning them out over and over and over. These guys are still at the starting line as Microsoft studios. They've all been what they have been for quite some time now, right? So it's logical to go, let's see what you can do. Whereas Insomniac is going, hey, whatever you want is yours. That's
Hey,
all
you
I'm
know
saying.
what I just thought about? And this would be just hilarious. Obviously, zero chance of this ever happening. But what would be hilarious is if Phil went to Disney like he went to MLB, but had Sony's back. It was like, yo, put it over here too.
And you know what? You know what? That's a brilliant idea. Let me throw another one at you. And this is the flip side. And I was talking to Boom about this. And mark my words. I hope it doesn't happen, but mark my words. What if? What do you call it?
We're in the Marvel what if here.
Well, yeah,
let's go.
we're in Marvel what if land now.
Let's
But
get
this
it.
is Disney what if. What if Indiana Jones comes out and it's a multiplat, but Wolverine comes out and it's not? 'Cause
What
you
if
know that world
Wolverine
is
comes
very
out and it's a
possible.
multi-plat?
That's what I was just saying.
Or Wolverine comes out and it's a multiplat. Exactly. Although in that world, I can see Wolverine being more exclusive than I can the other because, you know, a PlayStation tends to be aggressive. I call it petty, but you know that's neither here nor there. I can
The
see a
thing is, I
world
think-
where that's more exclusive than the other.
I think with Disney though specifically, and this is only Disney's the outlier here, but Disney specifically are more concerned on how well that franchise is taken care of than where it is settled. Specifically, Avengers really wound them up quite something rotten.
Yeah, so it's about doing it right.
Yeah.
It's about
Yeah,
doing
doing
it
it just-
right.
Oh,
and
you can
doing-
go
then
back. You
getting
can go
more
back.
people to
You can
play
go
it.
back a few years as
EA,
well. Dutch.
Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars, bro. I'm
that-
telling you,
they
after
hated
Battlefront
that.
2,
Yep.
I would not be surprised if Disney got on the phone with
Isn't that
EA.
the reason why
Oh,
everybody's
right.
getting IPs now? Because
Exactly.
of, because of what EA did to them.
Yeah.
That's why
Now you
everybody's
see,
getting
now you
IPs
see
now.
Lego Star Wars. You see Ubisoft with Avatar. With that, I think that's going to be. I think that's probably going to be one of the bigger hits. Me personally, I think that looks absolutely insane.
Division.
That's
Also,
gonna
that-
switch up
to-
engine.
To that point, though, Wolverine is not exclusive to Sony. This game will be exclusive.
Yeah,
This-
yeah.
exactly.
You'll see Wolverine and other.
He's not an exclusive character.
You never know what the hell's going on with Sony.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
I'm not even gonna
You know.
sit here and lie to you that I got hopes that Wolverine won't be blocked off on some DLC in some game that I purchased expecting him to be there. So we already know.
And another point as well in terms of sales, King. Before we go into that, Disney in terms of game sales and their profits from these, it doesn't even scratch the needle for them.
Yeah.
Like to Disney, it's pocket change. Absolute
Yeah,
pocket.
it's
They
all
lost-
about getting,
about
getting
the
the
branding.
IP done
They just
right,
want the
looking
branding.
good,
That's it.
Exactly.
so that
They
you
lost
can come
eight-
back to their movies when it's time.
Yeah, because
They
they
lost
understand
8 billion
what
having
a
these
good
park
brand
shut for a
does.
couple of months.
Yeah.
They lost 8 billion having park shut for a couple of months. You see, I mean, to them, a couple of £1 million in revenue from a Marvel game. They don't care whether or not it's one console or two consoles or three
Well,
consoles.
it's very
not
interesting
pocket
what you're
change.
saying, Dutch. It's very interesting what you're saying. And I live in Florida, so they live and die by the parks here. Okay,
Yeah,
when those
100%.
parks shut
Straight up,
down,
bro.
guess what happened? Disney Plus and games became the tip of the spear, boy.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so at this point,
Them
they don't
shows.
think it's chump change anymore. Even if they don't make the money, they know that when push comes to shove and their normal lines of income isn't working, gaming saves their butt.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
that's why
Disney
you see
Plus-
their IP
Disney
spread
Plus
around
saved
as
their
much
butt.
as you see now.
Disney Plus
as well.
did.
Yeah.
To be fair, if you look at Disney's financial report, actually, when you get that thing that they send you as shareholders, it's actually very nice every year. That's the one I look forward to. However, parks and cruises is their biggest revenue gainer.
Biggest.
Mhm.
Yeah.
100%.
Movies are just advertisement to send people to the park and buy the toys.
Park.
Basically, yeah.
Mhm.
So that anyway, this
No,
I know
no,
what
I
I'm saying
mean-
about like money with Disney, like they
And then the
parks
toys.
But as you
is
can
number one.
tell,
Yeah.
but as you can tell, you know, look at what Scarlett Johansson's doing. You know, they see there's a difference coming, and they see the sea change happening, and they're trying to shore themselves up in that era as well. Not as much in gaming, but for a long time we would not see their IPs anywhere, and now their IPs are flying. They see changes coming. You know,
Yeah,
so
100%.
all that tells me that either Microsoft will announce something somewhat at some point, or that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
I don't
I
say
don't see
it'll be
anybody.
their
I don't
death
see
knell.
anybody. I don't see anybody queuing around the block to make Frozen though, and that's their biggest IP.
They don't need to do nothing with that.
Yeah,
does
Coalition's
make
working on
sense.
it. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Hey,
First
they
of
got
all,
Peppa Pig coming. You know, all
That's
those
what I'm
things are
talking
coming.
about. That's what I'm talking about. Peppa
Peppa
Pig is
Pig's
straight
day one.
gangster,
The
bro.
kids love that.
Nothing's wrong with Peppa Pig. My nephew loves Peppa Pig. Listen, real quick.
Stand that pig.
The unbelievable amount of super chats that have come in. I'm going to get to them before we get to the next topic. I want to keep the show rolling. I want to bring Mag into this. Mag,
Yeah, man.
obviously you're going to be handling the second half of the show with your incredible topic. I want you to give us the opinions of what you think regarding a Marvel exclusive for Xbox.
Okay, well, first and foremost, I'm going to speak quick. Okay, I know I can do that anyway, but I'm going to speak even quicker because we're already at an hour and 6 here. So
Oh God.
let's get right into this. I want to put an asterisk next to a couple of things that some of the other people on the panel have already said. I've been quietly and patiently listening and taking it all in. Something that King was talking about, it was something I was going to actually bring up, is the reason why there was so much focus on the Wolverine situation, just like King said, is that it was a surprise.
Yep.
Nobody knew it was coming. Nobody saw that coming. It wasn't on any of those insider lists that we saw on Twitter.
Talk it.
you.
Talk it.
You know what I
it.
mean? It wasn't anywhere on there. See that 80%. You know what? I don't know who's more incorrect, the weatherman or like the Xbox, the Sony insiders. I don't know.
Plans
It's like an
change.
80%
Plans change,
failure
as they
rate.
say.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like an 80% failure rate, but people still follow them. Anyway, here's the thing: Sony knows how to speak to the masses because they have their fingers in Hollywood pie. You know, they know what people like to see. They know how to prey on emotion. They know how to get to people on an entertaining and emotional level. My game of the year in 2020 was Last of Us 2. I will
Yes, sir.
I'll
That's what
stomp
I'm talking about,
anything
bro.
out of it. People
Yes,
like
sir.
the story. It crushed it.
Yep.
Thank you.
It got to me. It got
The
to
best.
me.
Make
I
me
went
cry.
to sleep for weeks in bed thinking about those final decisions I had to
Yep.
make. You know, those kind of things. No other game does that.
Thank
Well,
you.
Microsoft
No other
was studying the game internally. We found that
Yes.
out with leaks, right? They
Yeah.
actually had a team studying
Yep.
The Last of
They
Us
called
2
it a
because of
masterpiece.
what was put
When
into that
Dom
game.
Because they listen to me.
Yeah, right. When Dom died,
Because it's true,
no
right?
offense, okay. In Gears of War 3, when Dom died, or Gears of War 2, whatever, I didn't go to sleep and worry about it for 3 weeks. I'm just like, all right, he's gone. Keep going. Shoot the next monster. Whatever.
That's heartless.
So
The heartless man.
I felt more than for Dom than I'm not gonna get into spoilers, but then what happened in Gears 5, I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Oh
fair
yeah,
enough,
yeah,
fair
100%.
This
That
is true.
decision was too easy.
Yeah,
I know, right? Like that.
Can Microsoft do this?
Man.
Sure. Can they make a Blade game like a Arkham Asylum or an Arkham series style game? Sure they
Shadow of Mordor.
could. They do right? Could they do an X-Men like Borderlands style game? Sure they could. But here's the other thing: when 6
Yep.
years?
I mean,
from
aren't
now?
they doing a Borderlands
you.
style
7
game now?
years from
Redfall?
Yeah,
What's that,
Redfall.
brother?
I mean, aren't they doing a Redfall, Border style?
Right. Okay.
Borderlands
So
style
that
game?
they're
Yeah.
doing that kind of thing.
that.
They
I
could
need that
easily do
game.
these things. But, you're talking like 2026, 2027, 2028. You're
Thank
not
you.
going punch for punch with Sony then. Because by that point, by the time they get a game like that out, you've missed the bus. Okay, the Wolverine bus has already left the station. And now you're showing up 2 years later going, All right, let's do this. We're already working on part two.
That's the question we asked. Remember the question we asked, though?
Right.
Like, they're announcing it now, right? Insomniac case. We expect it to be out like 2024,
2025.
Because
right?
I mean, Spider-Man's 2023. Give it another 2 years of development.
Can someone on this panel, both insider or not, confidently assert that Xbox doesn't have a comparable IP, but are just holding on to it? I mean,
game.
Because
Insomniac just blew their load. Pause.
Right.
Clearly it's not coming out anytime soon.
No.
Maybe Microsoft is waiting until it's something substantial.
Maybe they're holding that one card in the sleeve, right? You never know.
Another reason why that Wolverine hits so hard. Pause. You didn't hear anything from Sony all year. They know how to starve the hell out of their fan base.
I agree. Yep. I definitely have to say King is right to this, because Microsoft has been for the entire 21 campaign giving us new info, new info. So again, this topic wasn't to tear Microsoft down. This was simply to ask why.
Yeah,
and I think we've gotten a tremendous response of answers. And Mag, please, by all means, continue.
Sorry, I'll be quick. But here's the other thing I was thinking about is that they don't have to do what Sony does. I know that everybody's knee-jerk reaction is always going to be, we need that. We need to do what they're doing or whatever. Microsoft is going their own way. Xbox game studios are going their own direction. And this will tie directly into the next topic that we're going to be talking about. And then Sony's going to do what Sony does. And they entertain. They know how to put on a big show.
They sell hope.
We know all those things. You've got your KOTOR. You've got your Wolverine. But then you look at the other side of the fence. You look at what Microsoft is doing. They're not exactly sitting on their hands. They are attracting. Look at some of the IPs that they're bringing out. They are attracting the PC crowd, which is double of what the Xbox crowd is. Borderline double of what the PlayStation fan base is. They're working on. You look at games like someone else was talking about, like Elder Scrolls, for example. Elder Scrolls is massive. Okay, then let's say that you got the Fable, then you got the Halo coming out, you've got the Avowed coming out, you've all these other games coming out. Okay, they have to hit with quality and consistency. It does not matter what kind of IP it is. It is consistency is king. Okay, now you look at what's going on right now. They were going down the right road. If you look at what's been happening since July, they have released 6 console exclusive, whether on Game Pass or otherwise, whatever, right? Have hit 85 and 86 plus on Metacritic. Now you've got Deathloop hitting 90. IGN gave it a 10. These are Xbox game studios. So what are they doing? It doesn't matter what the IP is. If the quality is there, the people will come. 10 years ago, nobody knew what the hell Days Gone was. It didn't even exist. It wasn't a spy. They had to build that trust. Or Last of Us, for example. Let's take that one because, Days Gone is kind of hit and miss with some people. 15 years ago, nobody knew what the hell Last of Us is. But you say the word Last of Us now, it is a juggernaut. But they had to build it from nothing. And that's where, they always got that line, which, of course, I like to joke about. By the way, I'm going to flip the script on that when it comes to growing organically. That's what Sony did, at least last generation. They were building on something, organically. They're building up all these names. And now you look into the next generation, these games are huge. Microsoft could be doing the same thing with Avowed. In 15 years from now, Avowed might be the game that when you say the name Avowed, people go, oh, man, that's one of the top, one of the best of all time. Can't wait for part 3 to come out or whatever, right?
And then they'll be like, Sony, why don't you have an Avowed?
Right. Okay. It just goes back and forth.
There ain't going to be no Sony PlayStation.
Oh, there's that too. That's a possibility.
By that time, they'll be developers, right?
But the thing is,
we already got them on Game Pass right now. Like more of the same, sir, please.
The thing is, Microsoft has to focus on consistency and quality. In order to, you build that strong foundation, you build it up from there, and then the names and the reputation will follow you. They don't need to go chasing rainbows, looking for, this one or that one or this one or that. What's going to be hot? What's going to be hot? What's going to be hot? That's what they did in the Xbox One generation when they came out with Kinect. That's where Donnie D came out and said, what's hot right now? Everybody's like the Wii. All right, let's do the connect. Right? Don't go chasing after that stuff. Follow. I was
Yeah.
about to say, don't
Are
go
you
chasing
telling?
waterfalls.
Wait, hold on.
Max said stop
Are you
chasing
telling me?
waterfalls.
I was
You
this
telling me
close to
you weren't
saying
a
it.
fan? You weren't a fan of Skittles and Milo? Come on, man. What's wrong with you? Come on,
So
bro.
what they're
Classic
doing
right
now is
there.
the right move. So I say, don't go after the Marvel
I love
products.
it.
Don't go after the
Skittles and
characters.
Milo.
Don't go after the superheroes. Go after your own IPs and just do them really damn well, and the people will come.
That's true.
Yep.
No,
Yes,
I
sir.
posted that on my
That's a
Twitter
fact. That's a
today.
fact.
People stop Nietzsche theory. If you read the books, that's what that is being told. When you have the right person that's in charge, it changes how the ship goes. All right. We didn't have the right person. I'm glad you pointed out Donnie D was in charge. Just look what he did when he went someplace else. Right.
Zingo.
Exactly. He did another Titanic move. He tried to sink us. But luckily Phil kicked him overboard and grabbed the steering wheel. Listen, the right person in charge studies combat, studies the art of war, understands how to move in the room until you at a position of strength. And he wasn't moving in a position of strength for a long period of time. And you can't move in a money business without holding the bag. Now he's holding the bag.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing that you do is your perceived weaknesses, you cover up, you fix them. The perceived weaknesses was the studios. Sony built those studios and they built them damn well. And when they purchased really from within partners that they have proven themselves to be loyal and to be good and great at moving at their pace. So when they purchased Insomniac for that low budget price that you said Microsoft could have did that, they had the inside track. All right. So if I'm telling you every morning, good morning, beautiful, when you break up with your boyfriend, guess who you going out with? All right. So that's already a thing. Sony has mastered the Jody. What Microsoft is mastering is how to walk properly. You understand how to build this stuff up. They got really broken down from the 360. You had a Patrick Ewing layup and a dunk, and you finger rolled it and you messed it up. That's a New York reference that hurts my heart to this day. All right, so dunk the ball, Charles Smith, but he didn't. So we are at this point right now where Microsoft is building itself back up to the situation that they should have been leading last generation, and I'm glad they didn't. Because if they did win last generation, we wouldn't have got Game Pass.
Yep.
We wouldn't have got Spider-Man. We wouldn't have got the revamped God of War.
Would probably be in the spot.
Yeah,
Y'all be paying
this
$70
is
for
it.
those games.
I'm mad. King just called Xbox John Starks.
I was gonna say John Starks for 3. There you go.
Shooting all those threes and bricking, hurting my heart. Pat Riley, pull them out. Like, but this is what I'm saying. Like, people, they're gonna get to these parts. They're not where Sony is, and they can't do just like middle-aged gamers said. You can't keep chasing that rainbow. We did that with the Kinect, and then they try to force it down your throat and realize that didn't work well. Do your own thing, build your stuff up. Sony learned from the best and eliminated the best for Sega. They learned from the best. Microsoft is learning from the best right now. And when you turn around and you say, wow, man, that God of War looks good with this Xbox controller, remember I told you what happened.
Hey, that's already been confirmed at this point, right? Aren't there other leaks that have come? I'm playing with my Xbox controller, baby.
I'm gonna troll that day.
That was leaked today. That NVIDIA stuff. A lot of stuff came out of that. But listen, real quick, I want to bring in Tempest Sun, and we'll bring in Cyber, and then we'll get to the super chats, and then we'll get to Mag's topic. Tempest, you've been here for a bit. Thanks so much for getting here, brother. Definitely appreciate you being a part of tonight's panel. Where do you fall on the necessity of a Marvel exclusive for Xbox?
Where I fall is it's not a necessity, and that doesn't mean I wouldn't love one. I absolutely would love one, but I don't think it's needed. And pretty much the reason why is take a look at the confirmed upcoming first-party releases for their competition, Sony, and then look at it for Xbox. Xbox is like 2 to 3 times as big.
Yes.
Now that's stuff that we know about. Could Sony have another 10 games up their sleeve? Maybe. I don't know. But I think they just have so much more. Let's not forget, Phil convinced the head of the second richest company on the planet to go all in on gaming. I don't think we truly know like what that means yet. You know, who knows what they have up their sleeve? There's constantly rumors of this acquisition. Let's not forget that before Bethesda was purchased, these types of acquisitions were not like a possibility in our mind. It just wasn't. We didn't think that could happen, right? Now all of a sudden, Sony exclusive just got like a 10 from IGN, Deathloop. You know, that's a Xbox Game Studio now, right? I mean, what Kay Asante was saying earlier, I wanted to interject and say, man, like ever since about like the middle of like say like 2019 or so, they haven't been releasing those 70 metas. Like all of their games have been like at least 80 plus.
Very good, yeah.
Yeah, more so like on like the 84, 85 side. And that's just constantly going. In fact, what we're seeing is the influence of Microsoft's cash, so to speak, is just making these games better. I mean, look at Psychonauts 2.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Look at the change that came from there. I mean, they were going to release a game. There was a Kickstarter game.
Yeah.
They weren't going to have any bosses, and they weren't going to have voice acting. I haven't played it myself. I've watched my kids play it, and it is absolutely like watching a Pixar movie in the best way possible. So we're seeing a very positive influence. And now, yeah, Sony has Wolverine now, but we got Doom Guy, right? We have the Fable boy, you know, we have Fable, Skyrim, a bunch of other things that, quite frankly, the competition won't have now. Right. And so it's also the diversity, too. My bigger question about this whole thing is, what does Sony do if their fan base gets sick of the third-person, over-the-shoulder adventure theme? What happens then? Because I feel like Sony's starting to play it a little bit safe. Thank goodness they just purchased that new studio that is going to be making a first-person shooter. That's actually a good thing to me. What's that? Fire Spray. Yeah, okay, Fire Spray Studios. So thankfully they're moving in that direction a bit. But what happens if their audience stops tuning in for these games? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but what if? How are you going to pivot to just all of a sudden having a bunch of different genres again, right? So I don't know. I don't think they need one. I would love one. Trust me. I made a tweet about John Bernthal's Punisher. Like if that came out, if that came out, my head might literally explode off my body. So I would absolutely love one, but I really don't think it's needed, especially because they're competing now. They're competing very well, and we have still only gotten just a couple of the slated games to come. Free-to-play Halo hits, we'll see. We'll see how things are then. If it hits and it hits right, a free-to-play Halo game, are you kidding me? Yeah. I don't know. So
no, I mean, great stuff. And Cybernox, why don't you finish off the unbelievable topic of Marvel on or Marvel team up with Xbox? Where do you fall on that? What are your personal feelings on getting a Marvel exclusive? You heard everyone had to say, but we are interested to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely. First off, I wanted to turn my camera on, but my office is not ready. But
there we go.
Office, there I am. Hello.
What up?
I see King in the background. He's got, KOS over there in the back.
What's up?
But, I got my Nacho Libre luchador mask in the back.
That's
all right.
Up.
I just wanted to make sure of that. But yeah, guys, you guys know I just moved down here to Florida as well.
Did you link up with Kay Asante yet?
Yeah, what's up?
Not
with
yet.
I know we have to.
Doing it.
We already have it. Tempest as well.
Man. Yes.
I'm here. We're here now.
I'm ready,
That's
man.
right.
But in regards to this Marvel situation, I think everyone had great points, and I apologize if someone has mentioned this before, but I would have loved if Microsoft had gotten themselves, a Marvel character, some kind of Marvel IP. I think Doctor Strange, Blade, anything in that nature would have done extremely well. The only problem that I see now is exactly what I believe it was NeoSpark that mentioned, is what happened to Star Wars. Crystal Dynamic had a chance, okay, with the Avengers IP to expand and show Disney, Marvel, whoever is in charge of their gaming division at that point, that is say, hey, if you spread your license around, you're gonna get just as much credit, as much exposure, and as the same level of quality that Spider-Man did with Sony Studios Insomniac. The problem is that didn't happen. So I think because of that, that's why I asked the question earlier, is are they going to trust anyone else other than Insomniac with any other Marvel character? You see that they did Spider-Man, blew it out the park, right? Home run. It got praise. It got critically acclaimed. Everything. It's got all the bell whistles. King just mentioned it was his game of the year 2018.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people feel that way, right? A lot of people love those games. I do. I think it's a fantastic game. I do have my own thoughts because of Batman Arkham Knight. That series to me, I think it's one of the best. And I don't think Spider-Man 2018 would have happened if it wasn't for the Arkham games. But that's another conversation.
Yeah, it's true.
So, but because of what happened with the Avengers franchise, and that all those characters at that time with the movies and all things like that, you would have just figured, right, it was going to be a major hit, and it wasn't. It was a big failure, according to Square Enix, Disney. We saw the numbers and we saw how fast people fell off that game. So because of that, I don't think, not now, and hopefully I am wrong, but I don't think they'll expand or they'll allow anyone else to try and get another character and have the same type of treatment that the Avengers did. In that same breath, I will say, kind of what Tempest's point is, did we just forget that Microsoft bought ZeniMax? They have Bethesda. Literally, all of their games, still to this day, is probably one of the most played games today. They're still putting out Skyrim. Why? Because people are still buying Skyrim. Like, what are we talking about here? Would I want a superhero game in the same breath as Spider-Man, the Arkham games, and things like that exclusively on Xbox? For sure. Why not? Right? It would be amazing for us to see different studios, different takes on these popular characters. But Bethesda's, if you look at Skyrim, they just mentioned the Elder Scrolls Online. He mentioned that at the Xbox and Bethesda showcase during E3, 15 million players still there playing that game. So what happens when now those games are going to come exclusively to Xbox? It's going to combat exactly what PlayStation is doing with the Marvel franchise. It's going to be back and forth, right? Cause and effect, pretty much. It's Microsoft is doing things one way. They have Bethesda. They have these popular IPs, like Tempest mentioned. They have the Doom guy. They have not Fable. They have Fallout. They have the Elder Scrolls. Like when these next iterations of the Wolfenstein, whenever these games come out next, that's when we're gonna see, when they start teasing these games, that's when we're going to see the same types of reactions that we're seeing to, Wolverine and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But that's just the name of the game at the moment.
No, I mean, listen, everyone had an incredible. Listen, I knew this topic was going to run deep because obviously it's a monster panel. The star power was just ridiculous. But listen, before we get to Mag, I got to catch up on the super chats. And quite frankly, this might be the actual most super chats I think the show has ever gotten. I mean, it is outstanding. And honestly, my Mrs. Boom and I, we do take a tremendous pride of turning these super chats into monster giveaways, which one we're doing for Boom's birthday bash on the 24th of September. That's a Friday. Breakfast with Boom. This will be our 4th year in a row. We are giving over $350 worth of prizes away. And all you got to do is show up. Show up, be in the chat, hang out. And if you are a channel member, you get an extra entry. If you drop a super chat, you get an additional entry. And we just gave away $250 worth of gift cards just 2 weeks ago, and we're going to continue that with my birthday bash, and where it's my birthday, but you guys get the gifts, and Christmas with Boom. We're kind of putting that together now. We are currently sitting at $600+ worth of prizes, and it's our way of saying thank you. And that's what we do with a lot of the super chats that come in, channel memberships, and so on. We then return that back into our way of saying thank you. But let me just catch up on super chats, and we'll get to Mag. The first one comes from RNF, and I finally got it right. Thank you for clarifying that. He drops a $2 super chat and says, "Smash that like button. This is podcast history. Indeed, it is." Dan Lazaro drops a $2 super chat and says, "Batman and DC over Marvel," and I think that Cybernox would absolutely agree. Gotham Guy,
Yes.
good friend of this show,
Get me started on Batman.
Yeah, that's
Oh, you just wait, man. I already
keep
told you on the
waiting.
gamer circle. You just wait.
He says, question for you, Boom, and the chat. Does this move make acquiring DC property imperative for Microsoft? I mean, we've talked about that for a while. I mean, they could very well. I mean, I'd love to see them pick up Rocksteady because I know that they're for sale, but I don't know. You know, again, that's for another show. Michael Kullick drops a few super chats. Michael, thank you so much for the generosity. He says it's interesting that Microsoft didn't shell out more money for KOTOR exclusivity, considering the history. You think they'd want to get some clout? I still feel a type of way about that one, but that could be a 2-hour podcast on its own. Menthol drops a $5 super chat and says Phil bought all of ZeniMax, but we want to cry over a Wolverine game that doesn't even have a release window. I mean, I hear you, brother. I mean, you're onto something. No one here is diminishing what Microsoft has done. Like I said, I don't want it to be a me too. I want it to be why not. That's really the whole crux of the conversation. Vincent Robinson drops a $5 super chat and says Valiant Comics has superheroes. Do something with that. Not DC or Marvel. I mean, Valiant is a good brand for comics. Michael Cullen drops an additional $5 super chat and says the same thing applies to any Marvel or DC IPs, just to match PlayStation in that clout race. He drops an additional $5 super chat and says the timed exclusive deals they made historically haven't had the same level of hype. That's an interesting part. Jericho Jackson, what's up, brother? He drops a $5 super chat and says, I think every Xbox studio is already busy with with multiple games, and with that, the way that they have gone, gave their studios freedom, they would have to ask for it. I mean, that's a great point, and we know Microsoft is very free with their studios. Menthol drops a $2 super chat and says, "How is 7 billion not a punch?" I mean, dude, it's actually 8. It's close to 8. Now we know that for sure. It's almost close to 8. And that's not the point. They did throw a punch, and potentially they're going to throw some more. I'm talking about in the superhero game, and that was meant to be a pun. But thanks for the super chat. Outbreak Podcast, good friend of the show. He drops a $2 super chat and says, "Amazing panel. Punisher, Daredevil, Thor, or Deadpool. I'll take either one of them, but I would prefer a grounded hero. I'd love to see a Daredevil, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Absolutely, bro.
In a city setting,
good.
a DD where you can get him to be in classic yellow suit, which we're hearing might make their debut in the MCU. I'm just saying that is.
Yeah. Insomniac might make it.
I think with it, I'm telling you, man.
It's funny, man. I
guys.
think quietly, folks, Remember, you heard this first. Me and Cog, host of the Iron Lord podcast, we're talking about this afternoon, where Insomniac might be quietly building their own MCU and make this big shared universe within the Sony brand, and I think that would be cool. But again, that's just me.
Shout out to Big Cloud when you guys were talking about that real quick, because once he said that, I was just like, that literally blew my mind up. I was like, yeah, that could be happening. Right?
It absolutely can happen, and it sounds like they're working on it, to be honest with you. But again, only time is going to tell. Michael Kullick drops an additional $10 super chat and says, acquisitions are definitely haymakers. We definitely want to see that continue. But their publishing arm has been a bit behind locking down mass appeal IPs. KOTOR is a bigger deal than The Ascent. I mean, I love The Ascent. Right now, it's in my top 5, even potentially my game of the year. I really enjoyed that. But
Hey, Boom.
Yes,
do you mind if I mention something about KOTOR real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, I mentioned this on the Gamer Circle too. Everborn's and Chaos Ante's podcast on Saturday mornings, everyone. everyone is quick to mention, right? Cold Tour is synonymous with Xbox, but let's not forget MLB The Show was synonymous with PlayStation, and what happened back in April? Okay, Xbox Game Pass. Let's go.
It's lit,
PlayStation, they had to bend the
man.
knee. They had to bend the knee to
Come
MLB.
on.
Yeah,
It's
King's
lit.
been banging that drum for a while. He says that that you're going to get God of War on your Xbox, and it is definitely a possibility.
This is what I'm saying. What if
I know
Phil
about God
goes
of
over
War.
to Disney?
drops
I mean,
drops the
I
bag.
can play a Horizon right now on my Xbox. It's just through the browser, but I can still do it.
Hey,
You know, real quick,
do it.
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop right there. I'm gonna go to one super chat that just came in, and it's ridiculous.
Amazing.
Honestly,
Yeah, y'all
it is-
blessing. Y'all blessing
it is
tonight.
Gary Duddle, who is
Salute.
a huge
Holy
contributor to this show, has been for quite some time. Gary, I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. I definitely don't feel I'm worth that kind of a super chat, but my God, thank you for the generosity. He drops, folks, a 100-pound super chat and says, "What
Get
a
it,
great
Gary.
panel! Everyone has something to say that is worth listening to. Keep up the great work and the generosity with the giveaways." Well, thank you, brother. Yeah, it's at the listen. I put it to this way: the core of this program, the core of the channel, it has always and will continue to be community first, quality content. Again, the super chats are great, the channel memberships are great, but we honestly, from the bottom of our heart, we love this community so much, and they've been so generous. So I would be a heel if we didn't try and put as much back into it. And that's my story. But thank you so much. Listen, I'm going to get to the rest of the super chats. We'll stop with Michael and, of course, Gary. I promise everyone has just been really super generous. Let's get to Mag. Mag, please, by all means, take over the show.
Okay, guys. So the way we're going to do this, listen, I'm just going to preface this real quick. I want to hit up our two guests. I want to hear what they got to say about it.
Yes.
And then after that,
All right.
just kind of let it go, just let it go. Anybody got something to say? We're all grown men here, okay? So we can all be respectful. Just give everybody, let them do their thing and whatever. Just carry and piggyback off it. But anyways, I want to preface it with this. And this is something I was talking about with Boom a couple days ago. And it kind of hit me just after that Sony show. And I said, with Sony showing their cards for the next 4 years, if you think about this, it certainly seems to be a recurring theme in terms of their game's identity.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about the polish. I'm not talking about their quality. Absolutely not, because they are top of the line. However, they seem to be, in my mind, and what I'm seeing and what they've shown is that they're taking the safe route again. Now, do you think that this is going to hurt them over the generation as Xbox? Let's say, take a look at Xbox, as they seem to be pushing for a more diverse lineup of games, making Sony, every pun intended, by the way, a one-trick pony. So
Pegasus.
Give it a slap, Pegasus. They've elevated.
Absolutely not. Nope. I do not sign on to that.
I don't even know what that's
Pegasus
about.
Nation.
That sounded troll.
I'd like
troll.
to.
I knew it was
I have
going
to
to
come
go
back on the
churlish
camera
here
for that.
tonight. I knew it. I knew it.
Everybody, when you're done this show, go watch my video I just put up on Twitter before the show started.
Oh, I was
If you
watching it
wanna
right
see
now.
something.
I can't
I know,
stop.
Asante. I saw you
Ridiculous.
watching. I also saw that Paris has been skulking my
Yes.
Twitter too. He's been looking through my
Yes.
tweets and he's been liking them. But anyhow, back to this situation now. Now you look at this. For example, we're just going to bring up one other thing quickly before I let King David and Neil go first here. What another thing is that you take a look at what happened with Days Gone. The studio wanted to make a Days Gone 2, and Sony said no. You're making this. Now you're looking at the other side, and Xbox and the Microsoft Xbox Game Studios are like, make what you want within reason, obviously, but make what you want. Go express. You know what I mean? Your artistic expression is free here. Go do what you want to do. Now, when you listen to it, when you listen to something like what Jim Ryan said, for example, saying we want to grow organically, are they actually growing organically, or is actually the irony behind all this is that Microsoft is actually allowing their dev teams to grow organically, to be able to do what they want, as opposed to being pigeonholed into one direction? Now, let's hit Neil first, because I haven't heard from him in a while. So, Neil, listen, this one I want to hit you with is that, do you think that, like, what they seem to be doing that same sort of formula over and over and over again. Yes, it works. We understand it works. However, there's a big difference this generation, because last generation, there was no fight in the underdog. So they basically had the stage to themselves. But now when you've got Microsoft hitting on all cylinders, especially in the next 3-4 years, when like your Wolverines, your Spider-Man 2 start coming out and everything else, are the Sony games going to seem like the same old, or are you going to start looking at, like, you think that's going to hurt them? Or do you think that, like, with an Xbox is doing is a much more diverse lineup of games, do you think that that's going to maybe overtake that Sony dominance?
So I want to remind somebody of a similar thing that happened at the beginning of last generation, leading up to the launch of the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. For the most part, there was a unanimous agreement that Microsoft had the more compelling launch lineup. Microsoft had the more compelling software lineup for the first couple years of the generation. That's what it looked like on paper. PlayStation took them a few years to hit their stride. And now when you look back on it and the amount of quality games that PlayStation released last generation compared to Xbox, it's just no competition. People don't even remember that period in time when people are like, oh no, Xbox One has got this. That's going to be the console. So I think it's very important that a lot of people, when they're discussing the future or selling hope, as King says, I said this last year when there was that Xbox game showcase and they showed off all of these games coming out 2, 3, 4 years down the road. I'm very excited and optimistic that they're giving us these titles, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to the quality of the game. So Xbox can give me the most diverse lineup in gaming history, but if the quality is not there, I'm not going to care. We saw that happen with Sea of Thieves. We saw that happen with a lot of games that launched half-baked in the beginning, and they took a few years to get their stride. It's great that they're good now, but it took a while, and that's something that a lot of people, I think, should not forget. So in regards to the playing field as it is right now, PlayStation is obviously resting on their laurels of what works, and it comes down to selling you the high-quality, single-player focused experiences. But if you've been paying attention to how they've been moving, they've been acquiring a lot of studios for multiplayer games. That is one thing that last generation they were severely lacking. They didn't have any multiplayer games outside of Killzone Shadowfall, and that was 2013. So they're trying to fill in an area where they know they are severely lacking, because it's like you said, the single player games are great and everything, but they're not going to appeal to everybody. That's why they're going out there and trying to do stuff that is different. So, I mean, time is just going to have to tell as far as what that quality is going to be. Like, those games could be great. They could be the next Fortnite for all we know, or they could just flounder like Bleeding Edge. Like, it just is what it is when it comes down to the gaming industry. So I'm not really going to sit here and say that people are going to get bored of what PlayStation is doing, the PlayStation template, because people have been saying the PlayStation template for a good 3 years now. And what happens? Every single game that comes out gets great reviews and it charts better than the last one. So that, as far as PlayStation is concerned, if they keep the status quo while doing some different things here and there, which they are doing, I think that they're going to be just fine. They don't have any issues. Now, more over to Microsoft and what they're doing. And I'm just going to say this. There is no way in the world, despite what fanboys on the pony side think, there is no way in the world this generation of Xbox can be as bad as the last one. What they've been seeding for the future. And I mean, you see this happen with stuff that's not a big deal. Take, for example, smart delivery. Oh, that's a buzzword. That's a marketing term. They're just trying to hype this up. And then what happens?
Look now.
Exactly.
That's what I said for like months. I said, guys, you remember when Phil said it on the stage at E3 and he said, smart delivery, blah, blah, blah. And he said all this, I didn't say it. He says, and all those updates will be coming to you for free. And one guy in the back clapped. And nobody knew what the hell he was talking about. But then when Sony released those 105 PlayStation 5 games up here in Canada, the US, in Europe, and in Australia, and $70 for you guys, then everybody realized what the hell he was talking about.
Exactly. And that's the thing about Phil and what he's doing now. He's been laying the infrastructure. And I understand, like, we got to take him to task on some level, because, you know, there were some things he did during his reign in the Xbox One generation that never came to fruition. He said, we're going to get these games. We never got those games. But what he has been doing, though, despite all those faults, is laying the groundwork for the future. And King and I were discussing this when we were at the gym a few weeks back. You know,
Yeah.
we were talking about the Azure servers,
Boy,
and how important that is for the future, and not just Microsoft's future, but PlayStation's as well.
yep.
They struck a deal. Like they're doing all of these things because when the time comes, and if they stick the landing, that's extremely important. That's what I want everybody to realize. Like, all this stuff sounds great on paper. A Game Pass drop of a major AAA game every 3-4 months.
Yep.
If they stick this landing and nothing falters, it could be huge because they've already laid the groundwork, backwards compatibility. They've already laid the groundwork on PC and Xbox talking to one another, and they're laying the groundwork on cloud gaming. So it is more exciting to see what Xbox is doing. But at the end of the day, I'm all about the games and the quality experiences. So I'm hoping and praying that Playground knocks it out the park with Fable. I'm hoping and praying that all these games the studio's working on are quality, but it just comes down to, time will tell at the end of the day. And we can all play boardroom analysts, shareholders all we want, but at the end of the day, games are what sells consoles, not all this back and forth. But that's all I got to say.
Can I just add one point about the Jim Ryan and
Sony
please growing organically?
Please,
and
not
then
Jim Ryan. Not Jim Ryan.
And then they proceed to buy 4
Stuck with him. You're stuck with him. You're gonna have to deal with it now.
I'll get
He's
to that
from Europe,
point.
man. Why didn't you stop him, Dutch? He's from Europe, bro.
I'm gonna get to that point about Jim Dance Moves, Ryan.
Tap dance.
How you say we growing organically and then just go buy 4 studios,
or they tell their teams to
blink
do
of an
what
eye.
they say to do.
But anyway,
It's
But anyways,
different.
go ahead, King. Hit it.
Okay, so Neil hit a lot of good points, and I'm just gonna say, I told y'all before, leadership actually dictates how the company goes. Who has the ear of the money man? Jim Dance Moves Ryan made his position in the way of shoring up Europe, trimming the fat. I told you he was a money man. He's a numbers dude, and that's how he's going to play it. Guys was like, yeah, whatever, King. Now y'all screaming for Sean because Sean actually is the dreamer. We all need a little bit of dreaming, but I would like my dreamer to be at the head of the ship. I don't like my dreamer to be in the engineering room a la Mark Cerny. He sunk Sega. Remember what I told you. And I don't like his designs on what the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5 is, but he's getting away with it with a lot of things that Sean did. Now, here's where Jim comes in. Jim told you he's doubling down on AAA studios, AAA experiences, the big bangers. Y'all keep saying these words, they keep hearing it, but they're not understanding really what you mean. See, the quality is already there in the PlayStation ecosystem, right? So they know their studios can produce quality. They know how to double check and overcheck and make sure that the game is at a certain quality level. It won't dip from the previous game. It will only grow. So the fact that you didn't get a Days Gone 2 is because Days Gone 2 doesn't fit inside where Jim wants it to fit. What he wants is to make sure that The Last of Us gets that remake to coincide with that deal we just did with Netflix. Because if that doesn't happen, I can't double dip and make this money that the board is asking me to make. Remember, you asked for it. Under Jim, a staple of what Sony is made from Sony Japan. Now we're gonna have to shut y'all down, and y'all gonna have to make these demo games when we ship out our consoles because y'all good at that because y'all was bleeding us money over here. This is what happens when the money man walks in the room and he's a numbers man and he says, "Man, you're not producing. I'm gonna have to trim the fat."
hey King, just one point to just add on to what you're saying. You know who else was a money man?
Who?
Steve Ballmer.
Let me tell you something about Steve Ballmer. There's a difference between Steve Ballmer and Jim. Steve Ballmer is a dreamer.
That's true.
He had a dream, and he didn't let the 360 die because of the red ring of death because he believed in it.
Mm-hmm.
Jim would have murdered that 360.
Oh, yeah, it was over.
If he would have came back and said, "What the turnover rate is? What the hell? Kill it."
Nah.
So you have to really understand who's in charge of what. If you see Steve Ballmer, he's the owner of the LA Clippers.
Yes, he
Ringside, jumping around. That man is a beautiful dreamer. Thank God he was there for the 360 because we wouldn't be where we are now.
Yeah.
You need dreamers in charge of what's going on. I just say this to say, yes, the show looked more of the same. The reason why everybody's in an uproar because the one lone surprise was Wolverine. We don't know what the game is going to be. We were looking for Easter eggs like Boom said. Yeah, 181, right, good. I have the book. I have the statues. I have everything. Okay, cool. Do we think the Hulk is going to be in there? Could be. One of the fighters. Could be. It could be. That's a good thing. But at the same time, Jim will always swing for the fences, but he's going to swing for the fences after he takes the juice, a la Barry Bonds. Okay? Allegedly, because he's never been proven for anything, but Barry is the greatest. But we got to say that Jim is always going to swing when he's sure.
Hey, King,
and those are
ask you a
sure.
question?
Yes, sir.
I thought Tempest was going to bring this up, and I don't know if this was mentioned earlier too when I wasn't here. Do you think the Wolverine is going to be rated M?
Oh, 100%.
No. The reason why it won't be rated M because it cuts and I said this on Iron Lords, it cuts the demographic down.
Yeah.
A rated M game, especially the way that Disney does their IPs, the branding of it has to be done in a manner that doesn't offend. Right. So going forward, that's
appeals
the reason
to the masses, right?
Right. So
you know how long it took them to sign on to Deadpool 3?
Thank you. That's what exactly what I was about to say.
They were
Ryan Reynolds had to fight tooth and nail to get one movie made rated R.
Yeah, I think
and Logan was a one-off. That's never going to happen again under Disney.
I think also another thing to think about though is you are. And listen, I'm not like against exclusives. It's a great idea, but you are limiting the audience. So to limit it to a single platform and then say we're going to limit it to a mature audience is a risk. And maybe that's all in the calculations, and they've accounted for that, and they're fine. But it is, yeah.
It's not going to be rated
now, King. I do want to clarify my Ballmer comment, right? See, I'm not talking about Ballmer and what he did for the 360 because. If you know Ballmer, you know that he was the one who sold Bill Gates because even when he was running Microsoft, Bill Gates was still in the board, one of the chairman or whatever. Yeah. And you had to convince Bill of anything you wanted to do, and Bill didn't want to do it, and they sold him on it. In those in the 360 days was Jay Allard and all of the guys. But my point is, I'm talking about Ballmer as the whole in Microsoft, where they were so focused on how they were making money and where they dominated in the desktop space that they missed the entire mobile revolution. And the money guy was looking at, this is how we make money. And then these smartphones, even though they had a smartphone, they had Windows Mobile, they let Apple and Google take them by surprise because they were focusing on where they were dominant and not looking at where the ball was going. And Ballmer has even said this, that he wasn't focused on mobile soon enough. He's admitted that. So this is what I'm saying about just going off of what you are great at today. But anyway, that's why I brought up.
Okay, all right. But is the show? This is what he's asking. He's asking, is Sony turning into a one-trick pony? Pardon the pun. You watched the show like I did, right? They had multiplats. The whole beginning of the show was multiplats.
33 minutes worth.
Right. So you don't have a one-trick pony right there. You have an actual multi-platform console that's going to give you these exclusives. They are very diverse.
Yeah.
They are not limiting themselves into one area. They're making exclusive time deals to make you believe that it's only here to keep your attention to their platform. I may not gain there primarily, but do I respect the hustle? Hell yeah.
Yep.
You gotta bend the knee to the hustle, because if you can give crap for 35 minutes and then come in with 5 minutes of ooh wee and make everybody say, "You remember me now?" Bye.
Get the 35 minutes of crap. Yeah. Amazing.
And all they could talk about is a CGI trailer of a game. They have no date, no nothing. God of War was mentioned, and then they ain't talk about that. They talking about Wolverine with his back to the screen. You ain't even see his face, and he said bye. And you guys ate it up. So I'm listen.
To be fair, just to add on one
stuff,
point,
man.
to add on to the whole discussion about the Wolverine, the creative director did come out and confirm that the game is going to have a mature tone. Now, whether that's rated M for mature, whether that's rated M for mature, we don't know. But if you go on the PlayStation blog, it has both the trailers up. But Wolverine is the only one where you have to be 18 and over to watch the trailer. So
Spider-Man was a deadbeat dad. Okay, let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it the whole story. The reason why it was my game of the year, because they took it past the norm. They put Spider-Man. They went in his relationships. Yo, he was talking to Mary Jane about how he was still seeing this girl and he might have a daughter. And he was on the phone with her while he was swinging, and she hung up the phone and he was like, buddy.
So what you're saying, what you're saying, King,
real
is
life
that,
stuff.
What you're saying is that what do you call it? Sony took Spider-Man and turned it into that deadbeat, that sad dad formula.
What Sony did was give you real life scenarios. When they did Miles Morales, they didn't shy away from the mature aspect of real life. Is grounded.
True.
So Wolverine is going to be grounded, and you're going to have some mature themes, and it might be some killing involved that you won't see. But don't think you're going to be ropping off people's heads and cutting off limbs and throwing body parts at people. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to be X-Men Origins, Wolverine Unchained, Uncanned edition.
Thank you. You just might figure out some stuff about him. That's it.
But why would it be age restricted though? Because they would know.
They might be drinking and smoking.
There was no smoking though.
No, I'm talking about Wolverine smokes a cigarette.
Yeah, but I mean,
and he's drinking. Right, so at the same time, you can't promote drinking and smoking to children. You must be 18 and over. Y'all got to look at the tea leaves.
Speaking of tea leaves, the reason why I think King may be onto something is because in that bar of people on the floor, it was a bunch of people that was maybe they was dead, maybe they weren't, but no limbs. You didn't see blood on the floor. You didn't see gore in that little 45-second thing that they showed us. So, and I know we're reading tea leaves looking at Hulk 181, but that's a tea leaf to me as well, that we didn't see those body parts cut off.
The director of the game, the director of the game replied to somebody. Somebody asked him the question, like, is this going to be rated mature? And he was very clever. He was he said a description of what the game would be like. It's going to have a very mature tone. Mature tone doesn't mean you're
Kevin Feige said the same thing when they asked him if Blade was going to be rated R. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyways, you know what? Everborn, you're already talking. Continue. What do you think about this whole idea? But do you think that besides third parties, see, I should have clarified that a little bit more. We're gonna, but you got like King said, you got to respect the hustle. They're not making them in house, but they're buying them from third party. Right, so that they can get look at Deathloop, for example. Look at Deathloop. Deathloop is what you would consider to be a very different kind of game, but they're not making it in house. Does this mean to you? Does this mean that maybe they're more fearful to take that leap? You know what I'm saying? To be able to just say, hey, you know what? Let's take a chance on this. And as you see, Xbox seems to be taking a hell of a lot more chances with their IP, and Sony seems to be playing it safe.
Well,
you think that's going to hurt them?
So here's the thing. I don't want to say that Sony isn't taking a chance, because anytime you have $150 million budget game that for the most part doesn't have microtransaction and is not designed to keep you playing forever, it has a beginning, middle, and end. You're taking a chance on that, right? Because it may not hit like Days Gone, and it sucks that people didn't get a Days Gone 2. but they took a chance on that, and I think they will continue to do that. So I don't want to say, I definitely don't want to say they're not taking chances, and I I do think they are very shrewd, right? They are playing the game of providing content to their audiences, which is exactly what they should do. And until their next set, listen, right now they have to transition people over to the PS5. And they have been very smart about, even though a lot of these things are kind of artificially kind of locked to the PS5, when they could be cross-gen, they're picking and choosing the right projects to say this is locked in and you need a PS5 to get that. And they have that. They've successfully put the FOMO in people's head, right?
Yep.
Very smart. If you hear the CEO of a company that's valued at $2 trillion saying we're all in on gaming, and they pushed out Google out of the market by scaring them and buying Bethesda, right? You know that's what you're up against.
Yeah.
Of course, they're not. I keep saying this to people that didn't think that Sony was going to have something that would wow everyone in their show. You didn't think they were going to just take this and like, okay, I'm taking my ball and going home. I'm like, they were going to hit back, right? This is like when Batman in the Dark Knight took everybody's money, so they had to go call the Joker, right? So the thing is, Sony is very wise to do what they're doing. They know what IPs they can get. And this is the point that I was making earlier. Because they have the mind share and because they have the market share that they have with the PS4, it is cheaper for them to lock down an exclusive second-party deal or exclusive third-party deal than it would be for Microsoft. And Microsoft has to make the calculations. Do I spend all this money? We heard they spent $100 million just for Tomb Raider, and that's when the sales were close, right? Yep. Now you spend that and you say, I want to lock out all of the PlayStation guys. People are going to charge you a lot more for that. And Microsoft, the bean counters at Microsoft are going to say, well, if I got to pay this much for that exclusive, I might as well build my own game. I got to pay $200 million. Exactly. No. So what Sony is doing is what they have to do, because Microsoft has realized the only ones they can count on for now is themselves. So in order to do that, they have to build out their service. They have to build out their portfolio of studios. They have to build out their IPs. So if Microsoft is spending all the money in the room, how do I do this smartly? Listen, again, I come back to the Joker. He said, I got the whole city crazy with a couple of sticks of dynamite. Sony is strategically placing this dynamite and is having everybody going crazy, and it works. They, at the end of the day, they do not have the same money that Microsoft
we call
has.
it bowling on a budget.
But they're doing it strategically. Right?
Yeah, you're right.
No, like I said, I respect it.
Absolutely right.
Hey, can I just mention one thing? I'm sorry, Matt. I'm just gonna mention one thing. Guess that you do hear Everborn consistently mention Batman here and there, right?
I know.
I didn't mention Batman.
Throwing slander at Batman's name.
He's mentioned the Joker.
I mentioned the Joker. I did not mention Batman.
Batman universe in there somewhere.
Something associated with the Batman universe. This man loves
the Batman. You
gotta
tell everybody.
Just mad at it.
You gotta tell everybody why you said that.
Yeah,
to explain it, because
go ahead. Not everybody understands.
Give the background about why you brought that to light.
Go ahead.
You want me to do that? You want
No, I want you to do that, Cyber. Go ahead.
Cyber,
tell
please.
people why you did that.
Why? Because Everborn consistently on a day-to-day basis, consistently tagging on Twitter, Batman is this. Why do people
Batman
like this guy?
So you're saying that Mr. Slander is once again
but he keep on name dropping them.
No kidding.
Hold on.
You get what I'm saying, King?
I want to be clear though. First of all, King, you don't got no Batman statues back there, and I think that's for a reason.
Actually, you haven't watched KOS. I'm gonna have to pull your knees off of this one because I do have 2 statues of Batman that I posted, and I pivoted from DC statues only because I'm a lover of XM Studios. So the majority of my statues is XM Studios, and they primarily do Marvel.
Hold on, but I thought you didn't do DC statues.
No, I in the beginning I did, but if you watch KOS, they still up there. I got to pull a fraud alert on them. I got to pull a fraud alert on them. I got them.
Hold on a minute. That's right. So what you're saying is you stopped collecting Batman statues.
I stopped collecting DC statues as a whole.
Stop.
Wait, hold on. Where's Batman a part of?
Well, I mean, I do have. Okay, so this is where
you're reaching, evermore. This
is where it gets nasty, right? In my purple room, I have the Holy Trinity, and anybody that is a DC fan knows exactly who the Holy Trinity is.
Sure do.
Yes, that is Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and they will forever stay in my collection because they are a pillar of my comic book history. So I have the premier Batman statue. I have the premier Superman statue. Not that Superman is now with the butt chin, don't like him. And I have the premier Wonder Woman statue. I have the pinnacle of sideshow statues when it comes to those characters. So at the same time, I share your disdain of Batman, but I do notice that you name drop him to associate him to your good content.
Hold on a minute, though. I name dropped the Joker, who was the primary draw of the Dark Knight movie.
This is true.
People came there for the Joker, not Batman.
You did say Batman. You did say
Batman. By the way, the line was, before I moved to Boom here, the line is, it's amazing what you could do with a couple of sticks of dynamite and a couple of cans of gasoline.
Yes.
However, Boom. Okay. I want to hear what you got to say, brother, because we're getting late here. So, boom, go nuts, man. I want to hear what your thoughts about.
Well, listen, I'll make it simple. You know, there's something to be said about the way Sony makes their games. See, like Sovereign of ILP, I am a selfish gamer. When I get a game like The Last of Us or God of War or Horizon, or pick your favorite new IP, Spider-Man, Miles Morales. Do you ever take the time to listen to the music in Miles Morales? It's incredible. Put on a pair of
I have that music on the start screen in my house, like for hours, just listening to it.
So for me, like I want Sony to keep doing what they're doing because I love that experience. Miles Morales, for me, hit in such a way that I had to put the controller down and literally weep. And I'm talking about the opening act when he goes to his house. That's how my Weller's house was during Christmas. So it hit me in a way where talking about it now, I'm actually getting emotional live on the air, right? Taking nothing away from what Microsoft is doing. Microsoft is doing a lot of incredible things with the word diversity. If you look at what has been coming into Game Pass, it has been so across the board that you gotta find something there for you to like. Like The Artful Escape. Is anyone playing this game?
Beautiful.
I
haven't downloaded. I started soon.
I call it the Ziggy Stardust Simulator.
It is the best.
If you don't know who the Ziggy Stardust is, you're young.
It's the best DMT trip that you don't have to take.
Hello.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's right.
One of our mutual friends, the Steve Harvey of podcast, Pong Soul, said that he really wishes he had plant medicine when he played that. Steve Harvey, bro. I wake up, he's on a podcast. I go to sleep, he's on a podcast.
He's definitely all over the place. Matter of fact, he's on a Tuesday podcast with me, which will be there tomorrow.
Look at that, exactly. shout out to Pong. I love you, bro.
Pong's a good dude. But yeah, honestly, look, here's the thing. I think you're on to something. When you wrote this topic, it makes an incredible amount of sense. What Sony did is they tipped their hand to say, "Hey, listen, this is this is what we have coming out. OPS, by the way, we're making these exclusive deals here, here, and here. The reason why KOTOR is probably a 2-year deal is because they look across the board, and Microsoft has 20 plus games in development. Sony just cannot keep up with it right now. Their games take 4 and 5 years to develop. Microsoft has been, remember, 2018 when they added all these studios. When they became a part of Xbox Game Studios, it was off and running. And now in the next 2 or 3 years, if you want to compare, Microsoft has the better lineup. There's no doubt about that at all. And again, taking nothing away from Microsoft, but I mean, the one trick pony thing, some people might actually be, you're onto something, because a lot of the fans that are in this chat, and by the way, folks, we had almost 500 people here this evening. I don't even know what to say, but thank you. Would argue that, yeah, so Sony's games, over the shoulder, story driven, all the character environments look the same. You might be onto something with that, Mag.
Yeah.
So that's where I fall on it.
Dutch, what do you think, brother?
Yeah, Dutch, please.
And then Asante.
Man.
For me, and I was like, for instance, God of War 2018 was my game of the year at the time. You can probably understand why. I mean, it's not really hard to understand. But the story,
you got to stroke your bed when you say that.
Yes, you do.
Every time you say you got it, that's right.
Dutch,
That's
just
right.
give us one good boy. There you go. Yeah, one good boy.
But yeah, it's not hard to understand why. And the way they told that story, again, Sony and their studios have a way of telling stories that a lot of studios struggle with. And God of War was able to do that in the reboot. Very well done from start to finish, and the stories that they told, but also the world building in that particular that game. Same, I wasn't a massive fan of Spider-Man, but those who played it, again, specifically Miles Morales, the story that they told, and the references that they had to of course your areas, and historically was second to none, and of course that's why people appreciated that game so much. But I also didn't see in the follow-up to God of War in Ragnarok, I didn't get the same buzz that I did watching that reveal trailer as I did the 2018 reboot. And I don't know whether or not it was because of how long it had been kind of anticipated for that original reboot to kind of be shown off. And then when it did, it was just like, God, it's real and it is here, and look how great that looks. And then seeing, I don't know, story elements just didn't have the same vibe in this one. And the one thing I want for Sony to do, and everyone is correct in saying if you do something well, continue doing it, and Sony most definitely need to do that. But they do need to diversify their own first party portfolio. I'm not to say, as King mentioned, third party timed exclusive deals, they are absolute kings at getting these things nailed down for years on end. We've seen Final Fantasy, of course, Final Fantasy VII Remake, that timed exclusivity just keeps extending and extending and extending, and it just keeps going. And God knows how we've managed to wrangle it in with Intergrade. We're just like, well, Intergrade's coming out, so it's going to have to extend. Right, so we'll get there eventually. However, in terms of first-party portfolio, I think they do need to diversify. But this is where the struggle comes in. Microsoft have intentionally invested in 23 studios, of which there are 36 internal teams working on a multitude of games across every genre you can possibly imagine. And then Sony themselves, although they're investing in teams, still have, and this is one thing I said, and this wasn't cleared up and it wasn't abated by watching this most recent show, and I said this months ago, but I'm still concerned that the sheer amount of games that these studios are going to produce over the term. Insomniac themselves, if you take out just that one studio, there is nothing left on PlayStation for the foreseeable. There is two games. Yeah. Insomniac have been carrying Sony. Like, that is the steal of the century. That studio is just pumping out game after game after game after game.
Wow. But
like,
don't you think
talking about crunch? Jesus, I feel sorry for Insomniac.
Question.
I
For
mean,
you, Dutch,
it's in the name,
about what
though,
you're
right?
saying there.
They're called
God.
Insomniac.
But what you're saying there, Dutch, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Asante.
All
Then
these
go
other
right
times
into your
before
thoughts, brother.
before Insomniac was bought and added to this mix, right?
Yeah.
We all know Sony was cranking out these amazing hits, right? And now we see nothing but Insomniac, and then another Insomniac game, and another. Doesn't that say that all those other studios that used to be like producing at the high clip, they're all back in the lab, still working and letting Insomniac shine? Won't they also come hitting in the next couple of years? I mean,
Yes,
just
and no,
logically,
but
you'd
They
think,
will,
right?
but
Yes,
the
and-
thing is,
The problem you've
When?
got is these other studios, unlike Insomniac, these other studios have produced 1 or 2 titles in a generation.
Per gen. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And that is
Yeah.
the problem.
Yeah.
That is
Right.
that is the problem we've got. These,
And
And
you think
you look at what
Insomniac
Naughty
is bad
Dog
now?
did.
Wait till PSVR comes out. They are prolific VR developers.
Yep.
You will see 18 games from them. 'Cause
Well, they have a
all of
back
these studios
catalog.
make-
They can just convert.
and
a
that's the
whole
problem
bunch of
I've got with
Oculus
Sony
games
More champion
studios.
for
editions.
them.
you
Yeah.
know,
Primarily-
Shout out to Nixus.
right.
That's the
You know,
pride.
Here you go again.
That's my
what you
heart. That's
said.
my
Dutch,
heart.
you got to do some
Last
detective
of
work,
Us.
bro.
They released Last of Us 6 months before the
That's-
PS5.
Yeah. That is
Yeah.
specifically for me. That is the issue
Oh,
that
sorry,
I've
it
got
was a
with
year.
Sony at
Was
the
it a year
moment.
before? Or the same year.
What?
Same year, I
Same
think.
year.
What are we
Same
talking
year.
about?
Same year as the
It
PS5.
released
Yeah.
6 months before the
Last year.
PS5. Right. Sorry, I was getting my
Yeah,
years
yeah.
mixed up.
No, yeah, but
How
that's
long
the,
is it going to be before
that's
you
the
see
problem.
something from them?
Yeah.
End
That's
of
exactly-
end of this gen.
That's
Yeah.
the problem I've got with Sony Studios is that as great as these studios are, you're seeing 1 or 2 titles a generation. That's
Yeah.
1 or 2 in 7 years tops, and that you've got what they've got like less than now. Now they've extended back up to 9-10 studios, but for one moment they had less than 6,
Yeah, they're 3.
and they started closing things down, and that becomes an issue because then your first party portfolio, you're only seeing games at the tail end of a generation.
Yeah.
And this is what happened the last generation, as Neo pointed out earlier. Like the beginning of the gen, Microsoft were putting out good games last generation, but then the tail end of that generation, 2017 onwards, like just game after game after game after game. But that was because them studios that had been working on these games for that long had started to pump out games.
Hey,
your
Dutch,
point, Dutch.
Dutch, I have just 2 words for everybody. Director's cut.
Champion edition.
Remaster, remake.
No, but to your
Dual
point,
entitlement. Come on now.
Oh,
but
stop it with the
just
dual
to add on,
entitlement.
just to
Stop
add on
that.
to what Dutch was saying, didn't our friend Sean Layden say something about that right as he was leaving?
Yep.
He's like, something about gaming is just so unsustainable. We need to get back to making 12 to 15-hour games in 2.5 years to 3 years versus 5 years for 40-hour games. Like, there's something.
Yeah, well, that's why he's gone. Bye.
Before we carry on, King's got to check out, brother.
Listen, guys, I had a great time.
Yes, King. Thank you
I
so
tell
much,
you,
brother.
Boom, I will fight through hell to get to you, brother.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
It's called walking up the street. What are you talking about?
I know, right, Neil? Listen, I got to do this again. I love everybody here. And as soon as people started more checking in, I was like, oh, man, this is nice. But then I looked at the clock, and I'm like, I got to get up at 1 o'clock. So,
all right, brother. What do you think, man? It was a pleasure.
Yeah, have a blessed
King.
evening.
Take it easy, King.
Finish watching in the morning.
Yeah,
That's
thanks, brother. Definitely appreciate that.
All day.
Asante, hit us up, brother. What do you got? What do you got for us? What are your feelings
Oh
on
no, I actually think everybody has basically put it exactly where I would want to place it myself. Are they? Is it a situation where could they potentially fall into the gap where it looks like they're doing repeat? They're following the formula a little too much. Marvel is too, but still, every movie that comes out you watch, right? Every game you want to play, right? They're still doing it, right?
Yeah.
There is conversations down the line that eventually they'll need to diversify because eventually maybe people will get sick of it. But PlayStation's been doing it for years now. If people were gonna get sick of it, they would have already.
Sorry, Asante, this is where I want to dig a little deeper with you on this one. Now, you just said what you said. However, I did say that for the last 8 years or so, there was no other dog in the fight.
Yep.
So
they
I'm
had no
saying,
choice
so
but
now
to just
that
do what they're
Xbox is
doing.
becoming more prolific with their studios,
Could
are
that
they
be a
going to
risk?
have more of an issue with this? Is what I'm
Yep.
getting at. You know what I'm saying?
That
Can I-
depends
can-
on Xbox.
K,
Right.
just
on Xbox.
K, just one thing
ahead,
for
go
your
ahead.
analogy.
Yeah.
The MCU has definitely flourished, but DC had been trashed. The DCEU had been trashed for a good while. Now things, I mean, there was a hiccup with that new Wonder Woman movie. However, the new Batman movie looks like it's interesting, and things could be on the upswing. So
he said
we'll
Batman again, right?
I said it.
There we go. There it is.
Come on. He's just here to trigger Cyber. That's what he's here for.
Straight up.
No kidding. Tempest, it's been a while. I haven't heard your voice in like an hour. Come on, hit us. What do you think, brother?
Speak, Tempest.
Well, at this point, I can only speak, for me, and they haven't sold me yet that I don't have a PS5, and you know what?
You've got no need to get one either now, because
they could I've said it a million times. Put like a brand new shiny like Gundam game on there or something. Listen, I'm like, for my hobbies, I probably should, but spare no expense, right? I just, if I'm into it, I spend money on it. That's it's what I do. I'm not worried about trying to fund me or my wife's hobbies or my kids. But I just haven't been sold yet. And it's not due to lack of trying. I've played their games. And I used to love the PS2, and I loved quite a few games on the PS3. I could identify Sony apart from the others. If they felt different, they had a diverse lineup of games. They always have. And then with this past generation, that they haven't. It was all. Yeah, if you love it, you love it. That's absolutely fine. I play a lot of different kinds of genres of games. And I think the other thing, too, is a lot of times people would identify Sony as things like that's where you play Yakuza. That's where you play Persona. That's where you play a bunch of those games that you would only ever find on Sony console. That's not the case anymore. For now. That's not the case anymore. Pretty soon, Phil's been doing a good job. I want more of them to come to the console. Like right now, I'm playing Tales of Arise, a brand new Tales game.
My man.
And I absolutely adore it. And I get to play it on the console I own, the Xbox. It's amazing to me. I mean, one look at my wall, you can see the kind of person I am. So the fact that they're getting more and more of this stuff, it means a lot to me. And I used to identify Sony as that. That's the only place I could get it. It's not the case anymore. So right now, they have to sell me on their console for the stuff I can't get on Xbox. And right now, in my opinion, it is samey. It's been samey for a while. In fact, I've seen videos. Hey, they were greatly edited, but I've seen videos of all of their games lined up, and beat for beat, like somebody would swing with like a machete from Last of Us, and then when they pull it back, it'd be Kratos with an axe. And then Ghost of Tsushima, it's like a flawless thing, edited well, but it made you think. You're like, wow, that was like, it was like the same thing, just
after another sad dad, after another sad dad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
let's be clear. I played all the sad dad simulators. I platinumed most of them. I love them.
But I think you gotta understand. Like there's boys that grew up playing video games and then they became dads. And a lot of them were sad.
It's funny. It's funny. Everybody like tries to sell me on God of War. They're like, "You're a dad."
I can't believe it.
You're a dad.
Yeah. Everybody's like, "You're a dad." Yeah, I got 4 kids. Like, you're a dad. You should love God of War. I'm like, bro, like God of War is like, I play that game and I'm like, okay, this is how I don't treat my kids.
Exactly.
It's like this is how I don't raise them, and I'll be okay. So anyway, but yeah, no, I would love for them to diversify. Sorry, that's my stupid puppy.
No, that's all right. Listen, look, all I'm going to say is this, folks. This has been one of the best podcasts of the year for me personally. The panel was loaded top to bottom. Everyone had incredible points. I know that Wandering Dutch said, good luck trying to control this. Everyone was just awesome. When you get panels this big, it gets a little nerve-wracking as a host because, hey, you can have hiccups like we had when we started. I got a frozen screen like, hey, boom, you muted. Actually, when I play my stuff, it mutes it for me. So I was, a little stuck. But thankfully, we had an incredible opening. We're definitely having an incredible closing with middle-aged gamer guy writing this topic. And of course, I want to run through the super chats and we'll get everyone out of here. Yosemite Bland, friend of the show, drops a $5 super chat and says Xbox doesn't have a Marvel IP for the same reason there isn't a Banjo or KI game. They don't have a studio to handle it or the studios are busy, and that's absolutely true. We had another one from Geezer Prime. He drops a $5 super chat and says Xbox shouldn't have a hero game just to have one. If they do, it has to be a banger. Here's $5 for the jar. Drift Bandit drops a $5 super chat and says, why Microsoft needs to get just Marvel characters when they can get exclusive DC characters like Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman for Xbox ecosystem. That's absolutely interesting. And, there's still talk, right? They could still buy WB. Who the heck knows? And then maybe that would be exclusive. Michael Cullick drops an additional $10 super chat and says, besides a ton of IPs that they've been sitting on forever, Banjo, anyone? Yes, please. It's ridiculous. They have a stellar IPs that would give them so much more clout. A bit frustrating. We also have Gaming Forte. Hey, Forte, what's up, brother? I know I said what's up to you, chat. He drops a $5 super chat and says, very proud of my flawless brother, King David. Love seeing you reach that PvP mountaintop. Xbox shouldn't focus on Marvel games, just focus on games. I mean, you definitely onto something. Drawn TJ, and we're gonna get Drawn TJ. He's gonna come back next Monday. He's gonna be our special guest. He has some problems with his computer. We could not get him in. He drops a $20 super chat. Sorry guys that it wasn't working. Xbox needs a Marvel Marvel or DC character. Artist Gamer drops a $10 super chat and says, listen, Sony can't rely on 116 million users. That's last gen numbers. Microsoft have a big audience this gen with console, PC, and mobile. Sony is starting their user base over 2. Great panel. Yeah, and you're right for that, 100%. Cade Forever, loved the handle. $10 super chat says, the reason why Disney is playing with Sony and giving them special treatment with exclusive Marvel games is because obviously Insomniac. But also they want to keep Spider-Man in the MCU. I think there's something to do with that. Prime drops a $5 super chat, says, cheers to the panel, epic discussion, epic. Michael Cullick, wow, dude, he drops an additional $10 super chat, says, great point about Sony's sameness regarding their first-party games. I have the same concern about Xbox upcoming games, being that most of them are of the big guns are first-person style games. Black Ronin, generous friend of the show, he drops a $5 super chat and says, I just want Xbox to do a complete United States of Smash to PlayStation this gen. Give me a Blade Storm or Silver Surfer game. I'm right there with you. Ooh. Nicole's drops a $5 super chat and says, the mind share of the game will always make gamers overlook variety. I mean, that's something. Tim Dog just made, okay, this is from a tweet. Tim Dog has actually been going back and forth with Jeff Keighley for some reason. I don't. Maybe they're gonna have some big news.
Found something out.
The Game Awards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know what?
I have a theory. I have a theory about that.
Okay.
Remember Jeff Keighley's ominous tweet about "Are you ready, Tim Dog"?
Yes.
That's right.
And then I was kind of like, well, what? Because after you watch the show the next day, you're like, well, what? Ready for what? Right? Because the show wasn't like it wasn't E3 level, right? I'll put it that way. Yeah. So I wonder if last minute Xbox pulled whatever they were going to show, and they're going to show it at the Game Awards.
Maybe
because he just tweeted the Game Awards are going to be lit for gamers. Tim Dog just did. So you're probably right. They pushed something to the Game Awards.
Yeah. We're gonna have to investigate this further on Thursday's episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. Shameless plug. RNF drops a $5 super chat and says, people forget Satya is all in. What if Nintendo and Xbox have a back end deal coming? What happened last gen with Ori and Smash may have been in the seas. Yeah, indeed, for sure. And that's it, folks. We are up to date. Thank you so much. I want to, of course, thank the panel. I got to say, once again, we had almost 500 people here, a lot of new faces. If you enjoyed the podcast, folks, I am 200 away from 9,000 subs. 200. Nice. So 1,200 to the 10K. And listen, if you're enjoying the program, please consider subscribing to the channel and help me on the march to that big 10K. We're going to start with, obviously, King David. Listen, I'm going to do his outro. He is an amazing podcaster, content creator, but more so, he's an amazing dad and one hell of a character when it comes to putting his points out there. Obviously, you can find him on King of Statues. His work is flawless. Mrs. Boom's a big fan because she gets a lot of the Marvel knowledge from his breakdowns, and he goes into real depth. And she's a big fan of the way he handles that. And of course, Sunday, now with football season being in play, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I am going to be a guest in the upcoming weeks. I believe it's the October 5th show that I'm going to be on. But we'll start first with Neo GameSpark. Neo, brother, this is a long time coming. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and giving all of your incredible insight into gaming. Please, brother, tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media, but more importantly, sub your YouTube channel.
Yeah, of course. Well, as far as where y'all can find me, all my social media outlets are at Neo GameSpark. I do the most on YouTube and Twitter for those who are interested. But enough of that. I just want to say first things first. Mr. BoomStick, thank you for having me on the show. My neighbors, like I said, it's been a long time coming. I hear you up the street. I hear you up the street recording. And I'm just like looking out my window. Maybe one day. Maybe one day I'll be on Breakfast with Boom.
Well, this will not be the last time. I can assure you of that.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, thank you for having me on the show, and thank you for everyone. This incredible panel. It was great talking to y'all for the very first time. Hearing everybody's insights was fantastic. A lot of fun, and shout out to everybody in the chat for making this such a lit Monday evening. And it cannot be stated more than it already has. Let's get the homie Boom to 10,000 subscribers. Not just 9,000. Let's get him up to 10,000, Support your content creators. They're giving y'all this entertainment. They're giving y'all this fun stuff, this great analyses. And you know what it is? It's like a symbiotic relationship. This man Boom is just doing all of this stuff, this great content. Like I said, Boom is a workhorse, man. There'll be times where I'm just like, he's on another podcast. It's between you and Pong, man, but you running the show on all these podcasts. So that's where I'm like, give this man his flowers.
Boom is the Ryan Seacrest of podcasting.
Oh my God.
I'll give him that.
I take that. Thank you, sir.
That's a fact. So yeah, that's all I got for y'all. Again, everybody, have a fantastic night.
Thanks, Neil. Definitely appreciate it, brother. And we will be working together soon enough. Wandering Dutch, let's get you out of there. It is super late where you are, or early, depending on where you are.
Sun is
Dutch,
rising.
Thank you so much for being here, brother. You being a part of this panel has been a real treat for me because, like I said, you are an absolutely amazing designer, content creator, and more importantly, community member, where you're always going the extra mile for everyone in this community. Tell everyone where they can help get you past 5, 6, 10,000 subs at YouTube, and where can people reach out to you and strike up a Viking-esque conversation where they may get an axe to the face.
Yes. You can find me on both Twitter and YouTube at Wandering Dutch. Last week we had the ACG Angry Centaur on the show.
So good, man. That was a great episode, brother.
Awesome stuff. It was our unsurprisingly our most successful podcast to date.
Nice.
Over 1,700 views so far.
Nice. Well deserved, brother.
Absolutely smashed that through. But such a great guy. If you haven't watched it yet, it's absolutely awesome. Sat down and literally took the time to ask my panel, get to know my panel as well whilst he was on the show, which was really great to see. But also just his knowledge. Straight after that, we had a ID Xbox developer on the next day, talking about his new game Stormlight, which is phenomenal. 20-year-old developer starting his own studio and a massive open world RPG that is twice the size of Skyrim.
Oh Lord,
is insane. But also the intricacies that he goes into with the game design and the character building and the world building in that game. I thought, God, he's biting off a lot for his first title, but it sounds phenomenal and already looks great. So check that out as well. Really enthusiastic guy, really big head on his shoulders for such a young age. But yeah, you can find me over on YouTube at Wandering Dutch. Great panel. Really great to be on a panel with Neo again. And also,
likewise.
King David, as usual. He's like a brother from another mother. He's either always on my show or I'm on his show or vice versa. But awesome guy. Awesome chat and really great. Everyone, I mean, we had over 400 viewers tonight. So hats off to you all. Make sure everyone smashes that like button. Get Boom up to that 9,000 and beyond. Let's go from that. Look forward to seeing everybody again next week.
Thanks, brother. Definitely appreciate that. Kay Asante, let's get you on out of here, brother. Tell everyone where they can check out you and Master Slanderer himself twice a week, not only on The Real, but of course the Gaming Circle podcast on Saturday mornings. And of course, where can people reach out to you on social media?
Yeah. It was again, great show. Everybody's already said it. This was we were among kings, and even the king was here. So it was absolutely awesome. Neo, it begs repeating. Enjoy your content. Been watching you for a long time. Awesome to be able to podcast with you. Hopefully we'll get to do it again.
Yes,
really
sir.
Awesome, insightful, funny. It's always great to listen to you and your insights. You can catch me, TKO Asante on Twitter. As we said, on Thursdays, we're doing the Gaming Circle podcast. On Thursdays, we're doing On the Real, which is the movie and TV show podcast. We're knee deep in Marvel these days, but we also like to switch it up when something big and major comes out.
We got to get Neo on that show one of these days.
Yes, we do. We have to get Neo on there one of these days. And speaking of Neo, I think there'll be a lot more Neo conversations as
there will.
The Matrix is now among us.
Because it is time to
deep
fly,
diving
bro.
even in the trailers.
Time
Even in the
to
trailers,
fly.
we were deep diving. So yes, so we're gonna have fun there, and of course, Saturdays we do the Gaming Circle podcast. Usually 10 o'clock in the morning. We do that. Last week, Mr. Cybernox was awesome enough to grace us with his presence. We had a lot of fun. We actually did this comparison thing. We did this watching the E3 show from Xbox, and then we watched the latest from PlayStation, and we were seeing what was available there. When you watch them side by side, it's very interesting. If you haven't done that, you should try doing that. Not the latest one, but the Xbox's E3 versus this one. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. Next week we'll do it again, and you can catch me on those channels. Obviously, we're here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Awesome panel, awesome show. We should do this crazy barn burner thing again sometime. And we'll see you guys next week.
Nice. Thank you so much for that. And Everborn Saga, please talk about your incredible property known as the Everborn Saga, and about the 2 podcasts that you do weekly with your brother Kay Asante.
Well, I think Mr. K. Asante explains both of those shows way better than I ever could. But yes, Gaming Circle on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. on Thursdays. We do On the Real, where we kind of keep you up to date in the world of TV and movies. And this week we will be discussing Malignant and how crazy that twist was.
I haven't watched that yet.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about that Hawkeye trailer and what if
that was
episode
dope.
6 with Killmonger. But mainly Everborn Saga everywhere. That is YouTube, that is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam. But most importantly, everbornsaga.com, where later on tomorrow, we will be releasing Prince of Arcadia Chapter 4 to the public.
Nice.
It was supposed to be released today, but the shipment got delayed for the books, so we're releasing it on the 14th. But that is neither here nor there. It will go live, and if you are part of the Kickstarter, you probably got all the books, and you want to know how that battle ends. The battle at Wildwood Gate ends in Chapter 4, so you do not want to miss that.
Reading it yesterday.
And yeah, he's
give you a review.
He's just letting everybody know that he got the advanced copy.
That's right.
but that's neither here nor there. He got a little bit of special treatment. But everbornsaga.com. Check us out tomorrow. We are launching that book, and we will be at Comic-Con on October 7th through the 11th, NYC Comic-Con. So that will be Everborn's first time at a Comic-Con where I'm not just a fan. I will be a vendor. So it's nice. pretty big deal.
Yes, yeah, sir. It's a huge deal, and it's and it's well deserved. The work that you're doing is fantastic, and I'm happy to help promote it any way I can. Middle-aged gamer guy, your topic knocked it out of the park, brother. Thank you so much for being here. Obviously, again, don't hesitate to hit me up that you want to write more, because I thought you really did a fantastic job. Tell everyone what you got going on now, potentially later in the future with Halo, and more importantly, where can people reach out to you and potentially strike up a conversation?
Yes, well, guys, it was an absolute pleasure. Neil, it was awesome working with you tonight, brother. And then, of course, King David, who is now gone. But you know what? I'll talk to him some other time. But everybody else on the panel, you guys are amazing as always. And Boom, thank you very much for just allowing me to, speak my mind. You know what I mean? Like once in a while I get something, I just wanted to get in there and say it, and you let me do it. So thank you for that. And chat, you guys are incredible. Guys, you can follow me on Twitter at the Middle Age Game Guy. And actually, speaking of Twitter, I just released a new video around 7 o'clock.
Oh, it was
just as we were going live.
Oh, there we go.
Obviously, it's got some attention because I got Paris hitting it up and stuff, and I've got like 9,500 views already.
Whoa, wow. Woo. Going viral.
Hours.
Middle-aged viral guy. There we go.
It's pretty goddamn funny. It's pissing a lot of people off too, so it's perfect. So anyways, check it out after the show if you want a couple laughs. Anyways, you can catch me here every Monday night. You know where it is, Primetime Gaming. Tuesday, 10 p.m. You can find me on Gaming After Dark. And then, guys, other than that, it's going to be a pretty quiet week on that front. I'm going to be playing some Deathloop. Going to be getting ready for Kena Bridge of Spirits next week. So it's going to be a PlayStation 5 month for the rest of the month.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyways, everybody, have a great night. We'll see you all next week.
Yo, you a fool for that video, bro.
Right?
Oh, you watched it?
Yeah.
Put on the pink thing. Oh, amazing.
Imagine my poor wife. Every time I come up with some stupid idea, I'm like, honey, start filming.
Oh, that's love. That's love right there,
That's
bro.
great. Cybernox, tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media. And now that you're finally down in Florida, what you're going to be doing with the Xbox Game Pass Club and your YouTube channel.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Boom. It was a pleasure being here. I had to make it to this podcast. Neo Game Spark, man. First time, podcasting materials. Absolute pleasure and honor. I feel like an absolute fraud because I wasn't following you, and I just noticed that. I was like, oh my god,
I feel like I wasn't following you, bro.
Hey man, it's all good, But yeah, we had the King in the house, legendary King. He's awesome, and of course my PTG brothers, man. I always love being here. Like I said, discussing games with you guys. I always love the chat. You guys are consistently great. But Cybernox everywhere. PlayStation, Xbox, Steam. Xbox is where I mostly engage in gaming, and that's where I'm there 90% of my time. So if you ever want to game and you see me on there, hit me up with an invite, send me a party invite. I love to chat with new people, get different perspectives. I love that. I love embracing new people and talking as a community and doing this about this thing that we love so much called gaming. Xbox Game Pass Club, like I mentioned, it's like a book club but for gaming. It's on Game Pass. Entry level is very bare minimum, $10. All the games that we play are from there. The community keeps on growing. I love that, and I can't wait to talk about gaming with you guys next week.
Thanks, brother. Definitely appreciate it. And of course, once again, real quick, Drawn TJ drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, hit that like button. I truly appreciate that, Drawn TJ, and we're going to get you in here next week for sure. Everyone, listen, have an amazing night. Please remain safe. Enjoy gaming on whatever you enjoy gaming on. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that our dad taught us when we were kids. And he said, son, treat others how you want to be treated. Also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends.